Chapter 172. Towards Yu he no longer felt any anger. After all, it had been a long time. At most he would shake his head and smile. Furthermore, he and Yu were people from two completely different worlds. Yu had yet to step into the star realm. Her lifespan was short, and it would be extremely difficult for her to step into the star realm in the future. Normally, the number of star realm mages in a county could be counted with one's fingers. Yu's talent was not high. She had a short lifespan, but he had a lifespan of thousands of years. Through the power of the heavens and earth, he looked at her loose skin. That appearance of a middle-aged woman. How could he be angry? He could only sigh. Dongbo Shuiying did not intend to talk to her. Today they had only brushed past each other. In the end, the two of them were heading in different directions. Business is pretty big. Dongbo Shuiying borrowed the power of the heavens and earth to cover an area of 100 li. At this moment he could not help but pay attention to Kong Yu. Naturally, he saw and heard the conversation in the private room on the 3rd floor. Actually, although Dongbo Shuiying was observing millions of people, in reality it was impossible for him to pay attention to everyone. To pay attention to millions of people at the same time was impossible. Even demigods could not do it. At most he could simply monitor everyone. Only when there was a demonic aura would he be alerted. Of course, if there was a shocking scene he would be alerted. As for killing, fighting, cursing, colluding, talking, etc., these were all instinctively ignored, unless he was paying attention to someone. 3rd floor. Lady Yu brought 2 meteor rank guards up to the 3rd floor. Under the guidance of an old man, they walked along an elegant corridor and arrived at a private room. 2 guards stood outside the private room. They were ordinary knights. Creak. One of the guards pushed open the door. Haha, Lady Yu, please come in. A skinny man sitting at a table in the private room laughed and stood up. Baron Ying. Lady Yu smiled and walked in. The 2 meteor rank guards naturally followed. Creak. The door closed again. There were a total of 7 people in the private room. They were Baron Ying and his 3 subordinates, Lady Yu and her 2 guards. Lady Yu, please. Baron Ying smiled brightly. Lady Yu finally sat down. Come have a taste. This is the 7 treasures fruit wine that I brought back from the provincial capital. It's not for sale. I'm acquainted with one of the great magicians in the gold refining workshop, and that's how I managed to get my hands on this bottle. I can't even bear to drink it. Today, I specially brought it out to entertain Lady Yu. Baron Ying smiled as he helped to pour the fruit wine. The wine was as pure as a lake and exuded an enchanting aroma. Just smelling it was a pleasure. Come, let's have a drink. Baron Ying raised his glass. Lady Yu raised her wine glass and smiled. Thank you, Baron Ying. As she spoke, she raised her glass and touched it to her lips before putting it down. Baron Ying didn't come looking for me to drink, right? Lady Yu asked. Haha, Lady Yu is really straightforward. Let's get down to business. Baron Ying said, this time, I came here for the inn that your Kong clan owns in the provincial capital. Madam Yu, please state your price. We are very sincere. Do you really want me to name a price? Alright, 5 million gold coins. Are you willing to buy it? Lady Yu smiled lightly. Don't scare me. Baron Ying said. I am very sincere. If you are sincere, then name a price. Lady Yu said casually. If we can't come to an agreement, I will leave. I still have a banquet to attend tonight. I cannot stay here for too long. 300,000 gold coins. Baron Ying gritted his teeth. How about it? Are you dreaming? Lady Yu sneered. Lady Yu, when your Kong clan bought that inn 10 years ago, you only spent 120,000 gold coins to buy it. My offer is 300,000 gold coins. That's more than double. I am already very sincere. Baron Ying said. Lady Yu frowned. Baron Ying, don't treat each other like fools. Right now, you and I both know the situation under the heavens. The legendary abyss demons are hiding in every corner of the world. Right now, the safest place is the provincial capital. All the nobles and rich merchants are thinking of ways to buy property in the provincial capital. Buying a house in the provincial capital is enough for the whole family to live in. Right now, the price of land and houses in the provincial capital is very high. Furthermore, it is constantly rising. I heard that the war between the demons and transcendents will last for thousands of years. Back then my Kong clan bought it cheaply. Now that inn of mine has dozens of courtyards. The land it occupies is very large. Now the price has increased by more than 10 times. You want to buy it for 300,000 gold coins? Do you think that I, Kong Yu, am an idiot? Baron Ying laughed awkwardly. This Kong Yu was very well informed. It was said that the Transcendents had just returned from the infernal realm. The news of the war between the demons and Transcendents was only spread among the upper-class clans. She actually knew about it so quickly. I won't play with you. 3 million gold coins. A fixed price. Lady Yu said casually. That's too high. Baron Ying hesitated. Today I will tell you this price. However, I can't guarantee anything in the future. Lady Yu stood up. You have the gold coins. No. Lady Yu sneered and turned to leave. 2 meteor rank guards opened the door for Lady Yu. Inside the private room, Baron Yin's face turned ugly. When Lady Yu walked out of the private room, her mood was extremely good. Because of her relationship with Dongbo Shueying, all of the Transcendent clans in the Tranquil Sun province treated Kong Yu courteously. They were not willing to offend her. After all, no one knew what the relationship between Dongbo Shueying and Kong Yu was. Therefore, not offending would not make a mistake. Lady Yu relied on this point to wander among the upper-class clans. She even got involved in some businesses. Others didn't have the qualifications to do it, but she dared to, because those Transcendent clans didn't want to push the Kong clan too far. As long as the Kong clan didn't go too far. After all, her younger brothers and sisters were much weaker than her. She had long become the real master of the Kong clan. She always had ambition. She wasn't willing to just stay in the county capital. Therefore, the Kong clan's business had long spread to the province capital. Naturally, they bought some inns, mansions, and courtyards. After these years of painstaking efforts, the Kong clan's assets could be considered to have reached 1 million gold coins. But this time the invasion of the demons. This caused the prices of land and residences in the province capital to soar. More than 10 times. The Kong clan had made a huge profit from what they bought in the past. Now she could even sell a large inn for 3 million gold coins. It could be said that the invasion of the demons had caused the wealth of the entire world. Countless rich people and nobles in the counties were rushing towards the province capital. 300,000 gold coins? Dream on. Lady Yu was very disdainful. Although the power behind Baron Ying was very strong, she wasn't afraid. Her Kong clan had business relations with some Transcendent clans. Why would she be afraid of Baron Ying? Tap tap tap. She walked down the stairs. Lady Yu's gaze naturally swept across the second floor. Previously, when she was walking up the stairs, she didn't pay attention to the second floor at all. But now, when she swept her gaze across the second floor, she saw a figure in the corner of the second floor. It was a black-clothed youth. Lady Yu's body trembled. She stopped walking down the stairs. She looked at the back of the black-clothed youth. Too familiar. This familiar back. All these years she didn't know how many times she had regretted it. How many times she had reminisced about it. She was too familiar with Dongbo Shueying's back. Furthermore, this back was exactly the same as back then. Is that him? Lady Yu walked down the stairs in disbelief. She nervously walked towards that direction. She felt her entire body was sweating. It had been many years since she was this nervous. Chapter 173. The 2 meteor rank guards behind her looked at this scene with some doubt. Lady Yu nervously walked to the window and saw the face of the black-robed youth. Lady Yu was slightly surprised. Different. This was a stranger's face. The black-robed youth turned to look at her. Madam, what's the matter? Lady Yu immediately said. I mistook you for someone else. After saying that, she turned and walked towards the staircase. There were too many similar people in the world. That's right, a dignified Transcendent would drink alone in a restaurant? This time she must have mistaken him for someone else. She walked down the staircase with the 2 guards. I actually got recognized. Dongbo Shueying shook his head and laughed. This time he only changed his appearance. After all, many people knew about his appearance. When he was listed in the Dragon Mountain book, all the big clans would collect some basic information about him, which naturally included his appearance. As for his figure, unless it was someone who was very familiar with him, no one would be able to recognize him. It seems that the Kong clan's life is not bad. Dongbo Shuang nodded. No matter what, Kong Yu was a memory of his youth. It was a good thing that she was living a good life. Dongbo Shuang's expression suddenly changed. A cold light flashed in his eyes. In the private room on the third floor, Baron Ying sat there with an ugly expression. Master, the old man beside him whispered. This Kong Yu really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. She is just relying on her relationship with Dongbo Shuang. Maybe Dongbo Shuang has already forgotten about her. How dare she be so presumptuous in front of Master? In the past, we did not think much of the Kong clan. Her Kong clan is considered lucky to be able to buy such a big inn in the provincial capital. Since she doesn't give us face, we will secretly. As he said that, he lightly chopped the air with his hand. He could see that his master was obviously very angry. No. Baron Ying shook his head. The Kong clan was indeed not worth mentioning. In the past, they barely had 1,000,000 gold coins. This was also the result of Kong Yu's hard work for more than 20 years. But now, because the number of inns and houses in the provincial capital had increased, the biggest one was that big inn. The Kong clan's wealth was close to 5,000,000 gold coins. That was extremely high. In fact, with the help of the demon invasion, the great clans were all flocking to the provincial capital. The most powerful transcendent clans in the provincial capital were the ones who earned the most. We definitely can't provoke a transcendent, Baron Ying said in a low voice. It's not worth the risk for an inn. Yes, the old man replied respectfully. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door of the private room. Creak. The door opened and a maid came in with a sweet smile. Milord, shall we serve the dishes? Serving the dishes? Baron Ying had been suppressing a bellyful of anger for a long time. At this moment, he glanced at the maids who came in. Those who were chosen to serve the guests in the private rooms on the third floor were all young and beautiful. Their figures were also excellent, with curves in all the right places. Baron Yin's gaze was like a knife on the maid, causing her to feel nervous and uneasy. She felt uneasy and fearful. Close the door, Baron Ying said calmly. Yes. The two guards outside immediately closed the door of the private room. Milord? The maid was nervous and uneasy. I want to paint, Baron Ying said in a low voice. The maid heaved a sigh of relief. Painting? Painting? Hurry up, the old man at the side urged. The two meteor rank guards in the room immediately took a step and went to the maid's side. What are you doing? The maid was shocked. Her mouth was sealed. At the same time, one of the meteor rank guards skillfully took out a bundle of rope and quickly tied the maid up. As for the other meteor rank guard, he directly tore apart the maid's clothes, revealing a fair and youthful body. This made the maid extremely frightened. She wanted to struggle, but with the rope binding her she couldn't move at all. She wanted to shout, but with her mouth sealed, she could only let out a very low woo-woo-woo sound. The soundproofing of this private room was too good. After all, knights who cultivated doqi had very sensitive ears. If the soundproofing wasn't good, some business conversations inside the room could be heard from the outside. Therefore, the soundproofing was very good. Even if someone shouted loudly inside, the voice outside would be very weak. Who? Baron Ying stood up. With a wave of his hand, a tray appeared beside him. On the tray there were many knives of different lengths. The knives were very sharp and flashed a cold light. Kong Yu, you really make me very uncomfortable. Baron Ying picked up a knife and looked at the frightened maid in front of him. He grinned and sneered. Don't be afraid, I'm just painting on your body. White skin, blood-red marks emitting an aura of life. Don't struggle. Be obedient and only you will die. If you struggle too much, I won't be happy painting, and your whole family will be finished. The old man and the two meteor rank guards at the side watched calmly. They were already used to it. Baron Ying was the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce. When he was angry or extremely happy, he would paint. When he was angry, he could vent his anger and calm himself down. After all, he was the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce. If he wasn't calm enough, it would be very bad. The door outside suddenly opened. Huh. Baron Ying looked outside angrily. The old man and the two guards also looked outside. They saw that the two guards outside the door had already fallen. A black-clothed youth walked in. Woo woo woo. The bound and sealed maid struggled with all her might. Who are you? Baron Yin's face darkened. He shouted, you dare to kill my people? Killing people is against the Empire's laws. He could tell with a glance that the two guards at the door were already dead. Oh, you know the Empire's laws? Dongbo Shuang shook his head and walked towards the bound maid. Humph! The meteor rank guard beside the maid was furious. He instantly unsheathed his sword. Chi with a sound, a hole appeared on the meteor rank guard's forehead. He widened his eyes in fear and fell to the ground. Blood began to flow on the floor of the room. Not good. Baron Ying, the old man and the other meteor rank guard felt their hearts turn cold. If he could instantly kill a meteor rank expert with a concealed weapon, then he could easily kill the three of them. After all, Baron Ying and the old man were much weaker. They had not even reached the star rank. I'm the vice president of the Skyfire Trade Union, Ying Dan. Baron Ying said, this time I'm really ashamed. If you need any compensation, I will do my best to make it up to you. The Skyfire Trade Union was one of the top 3 trade unions in Azure River County. Their business was spread all over the Tranquil Sun province. Voila, the rope binding the female attendant broke apart. Shuang picked up a torn piece of clothing and handed it over to the female attendant. After all, it was currently spring, and the weather in Azure River County was still very cold. Thus, the number of torn pieces of clothing on the female attendant was not small. The maidservant hurriedly wrapped her tattered clothes to cover herself. Thank you, my lord. The maid was still in shock. Make up for it? 3 copper coins appeared in Dongbo Shuiying's hands. Baron Ying and his subordinates were immediately terrified. Baron Ying said, I'm a baron, a noble. I'm the vice president of the Skyfire Trade Union. You can't kill me. Pooh, pooh, pooh. The 3 copper coins flashed. Baron Ying, the old man and the meteor rank guard all had a hole in their foreheads. They were all terrified and fell to the ground. The maid was so scared that she covered her mouth. The vice president of the Skyfire Trade Union died just like that? He died because of a copper coin that even the villagers didn't care about? I wasted a few copper coins, Dongbo Shuang muttered. If he was willing to reveal his true strength, he could directly use the world energy to kill them. However, he was chasing after the traces of the demon, so he didn't want to reveal his extraordinary methods. He had to keep a low profile. That was why he used copper coins to kill people. The Skyfire Trade Union might investigate this matter. To prevent you from being implicated, go to another room first. Dongbo Shuang said gently to the maid. If you go downstairs in such a tattered state, you will definitely be suspected. The maid nodded. Go. There's no need to worry too much, Dongbo Shuang said. He didn't need to worry too much because he was going to stay in Azure River County for a month. Naturally, he had to deal with this matter cleanly and not implicate the maid. The maid was just an ordinary person. How could she possibly provoke the Skyfire Trade Union? The maid hurriedly walked out and hid in a small room at the side. That was where the maids stayed and stored their clothes. Dongbo Shuang openly walked out and walked down the stairs. He returned to his seat on the 2nd floor by the window and continued drinking his wine. Chapter 174. The restaurant was bustling with people and waiters. Furthermore, when Dongbo Shuang killed Baron Ying and his men, he didn't even bother to clean up the corpses. Thus, in just a short while, a waitress who was walking upstairs discovered the corpses. She exclaimed and hurriedly went downstairs to inform her boss. What? Baron Ying died on the 3rd floor? The fat boss of the restaurant was dumbfounded. He felt as if the sky had collapsed. After a long while, he finally regained his senses. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and gulped, trying his best to calm himself down. To be able to open such a restaurant in the county city meant that he was experienced and knowledgeable. He knew how powerful the Skyfire Trade Union was. It's over. It's over. If I can't survive this, I'm really done for. The fat boss brought his men to the 3rd floor. He looked at the 2 corpses at the door of the private room, the 4 corpses in the private room, and the bloodstains on the floor. Boss, what should we do? One of the guards asked anxiously. The fat boss looked carefully at the private room. The clothes and the knives used to paint were all destroyed by Dongbo Shuang. He didn't want to implicate the ordinary waitress. So powerful. 2 meteor rank guards died instantly. They didn't even have the time to resist. The fat boss mumbled. The murderer is at least a silver moon knight. The private room's window was sealed from the inside. The murderer shouldn't have escaped from the window. Little Five, hurry and ask who came up just now. Especially if it's a stranger. He seems to be very powerful. Okay. Another guard hurriedly went downstairs. After a short while, he came back up again and said softly, "Boss, I've asked." Other than our waitress, there was only a black-clothed young man from the second floor who came up. Black-clothed young man? The fat boss's face changed slightly. Where did he go? He's still on the second floor. He's eating and drinking there. He's the only one near the window. The guard hurriedly said softly. The fat boss was slightly shocked. Little Five, you stay here and watch. No one is allowed to move. Also, completely seal off the third floor. No one is allowed to come up. The fat boss ordered. The rest of you follow me down. The fat boss went down to the third floor with a guard. When he arrived at the second floor, the fat boss looked around. Most of the customers on the second floor were talking to their friends. Ying was the only one eating and drinking alone. In addition, he was by the window and he was a young man in black. Naturally, he was targeted by the fat boss at a glance. When the fat boss looked over, Ying raised his wine glass and smiled at him. This caused the fat boss's heart to tremble. He forced a smile on his face and hurriedly left. At the back of the restaurant. You're fearless, aren't you? You're still drinking? You're not afraid at all. Do they have a grudge against the Skyfire Trade Union? The fat boss pondered for a moment before ordering. Little Seven, quickly report to the Skyfire Trade Union that Baron Ying is dead. He died in a private room on the third floor of our restaurant. The murderer is still drinking in the restaurant. Yes. The guard hurriedly responded. The fat boss looked at the back of the guard as he left with a worried expression. He murmured, how unexpected. Do you think it's easy for me to run this restaurant? To encounter such a troublesome matter? I hope I can get through this. I'll be lucky if the Skyfire Trade Union doesn't squeeze me dry. Otherwise, I can only fight to the death and report this matter to the Dragon Mountain Manor. Although he thought this way, he was clear that no matter how much he struggled, he would only cause some trouble for the Skyfire Trade Union. Thus, he could only hope that the Skyfire Trade Union would not be too ruthless. Very soon, in just an hour, the upper echelons of the Skyfire Trade Union rushed to the third floor of the restaurant to conduct an inspection. When they were on the second floor, they saw Ying drinking. Ying looked at them with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. In a luxurious hall in the headquarters of the Skyfire Trade Union, President Nanmeng Xian sat at the head of the table. He was over 90 years old, but because he was a Silver Moon Knight, he had the appearance of a middle-aged man. President Ying, how did he die? Tell me everything you saw. Nanmeng Xian squinted his eyes, a cold glint flashing in them. In the entire Skyfire Trade Union, there were people in charge of business and people in charge of fighting. As the president, Nanmeng Xian was in charge of everything. As for Baron Ying, although his personality was twisted, he was very capable in business, allowing the business of the Skyfire Trade Union to grow continuously. President Ying and his subordinates were all killed by hidden weapons, including his 2 meteor-rank bodyguards. One of the skinny old men reported. The hidden weapons have also been found. It's a copper coin. Furthermore, they were standard copper coins. Standard copper coins? The other upper echelons of the Skyfire Trade Union exclaimed. Yes, standard copper coins. From where they were standing, President Ying and his subordinates were standing and even had their weapons drawn. Clearly, they were prepared to fight the enemy. However, they were all killed in an instant. There were no signs of battle within the private room. Clearly, the 2 Meteor Knights did not even have the ability to fight back. Based on our initial estimation, this was an extremely powerful Silver Moon Knight who was proficient in using hidden weapons. He might even be a Legend Knight. An extremely powerful Silver Moon Knight? Or a Legend Knight? Nanmeng Xian frowned. Who killed them? Was it a personal grudge? Or was it against the Skyfire Trade Union? Although the Skyfire Trade Union was powerful, they did not have any legend rankers. If they really met a legend knight, it would be troublesome. Right now, we can almost confirm that the murderer is that black-robed youth. The skinny old man continued. When we went to the restaurant, the black-robed youth was still there. He even smiled at us. He was purposely provoking us. He still dared to provoke us? Nan Ming Xian's expression changed. Very good. Since he has come knocking on our door, our Skyfire Trade Union will not lower our heads. Blood Rogue. Here. A muscular man with a scar on his face stood up. Blood Rogue was the strongest military force in the Skyfire Trade Union. Bring your experts in 3 sets of God-exterminating crossbows. Nan Ming Xian's expression was ferocious. He dares to provoke our Skyfire Trade Union. Our Skyfire Trade Union has flourished for hundreds of years. We are not a group that a lone ranger can provoke. Humph, even if he is a legend knight, we will kill him. Yes. Blood Rogue's eyes were filled with excitement. The God-exterminating crossbow was an extremely terrifying weapon created by a gold mage. It could threaten the life of a legend knight. A set of God-exterminating crossbow cost an astonishing 600,000 gold coins. Furthermore, it was not something that could be bought with money. It was used by the military. Even though it was forbidden to leak, some of the bigger powers were still able to get their hands on it. For them to be able to take out 3 sets at once, it showed how powerful the Skyfire Trade Union was. The sky gradually darkened. Dongbu Shuiying finally walked out of the restaurant. Every single movement of the Skyfire Trade Union was under his surveillance. For example, the young girl selling flowers at the side of the street, the child beggar at the side of the road, and the couple in the crowd. These were all spies that the Skyfire Trade Union had arranged. These spies were here to keep an eye on the Skyfire Trade Union. He came out. He entered the 5th alley. The 5th alley was an extremely secluded alley with very few people. This caused the people from the Skyfire Trade Union to be pleasantly surprised. After all, the laws of the Empire were not to be trifled with. They did not dare to kill anyone on the crowded streets. He is truly seeking his own death. Everyone prepare yourselves. A legend knight can control the power of heaven and earth, and he is very dangerous. Thus, the moment he enters our ambush area, immediately use the God-exterminating crossbow and tie him up. Blood Rogue ordered. He smiled malevolently as he looked at the scene in anticipation. You dare to provoke our Skyfire Trade Union and still act so arrogantly. Humph, in a moment you won't be able to act arrogantly anymore. Very soon, a black-robed youth walked over from the dark alley. He's here. Blood Rogue's eyes lit up. Suddenly, the black-robed youth raised his head and looked over. He grinned, revealing his extremely white teeth. Chapter 175. Hua. The assassins who were hiding, including Bloodhand, all felt their heads buzzing. One by one they all collapsed. Some even fell from the walls of the alley, while others fell from the roofs. None of them were breathing. Each of them had their heads pierced by a copper coin. Wrapped in the power of heaven and earth, these copper coins silently killed them in the darkness. I want to see what you guys can do next. Dongbu Shuiying's figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. In the dark and remote alley, a few scouts carefully followed the trail. Not good. They were all killed by hidden weapons. The murderer must have ambushed them from the dark. Yes, looking at the angle of the hidden weapons, the murderer should have been walking on the roofs beside the alley. He must have sneaked in and killed them. The scouts carefully examined the corpses and confirmed the extent of their injuries. They immediately rushed back to report. Night fell. In the luxurious hall of the headquarters of Skyfire Trade Union, the murderer ambushed them and used hidden weapons to kill them all? President Nan Ming Xian's face turned ugly. The assassins led by Bloodhand were all elites. They hid very carefully, but the murderer was still able to discover them and even ambush them. I'm afraid that he could control the world energy and use it to observe them. This murderer is actually a legend ranker? Although Nan Ming Xian had said it before, he felt that the possibility of the murderer being a legend ranker was very low, because there were too few legend rankers. In the entire Azure River County, there were not more than 10 legend rankers who could achieve one with the world. The possibility of an unknown legend ranker suddenly appearing out of nowhere was extremely low. He felt that the murderer was at most an extremely powerful Silver Moon Knight who specialized in hidden weapons. Even if he used some special gold-refined weapons, he would still be able to display the strength of a legend ranker. The team he sent out could also kill the murderer. But once the murderer achieved one with the world, if they were careless they might succeed. But if they used the world energy to check, failure would be normal. President, what should we do? What should we do now? Is he targeting our Skyfire trade union? Will he kill his way to our headquarters? Should we inform the Dragon Mountain Manor and ask them to protect us? The higher-ups of the trade union panicked. Don't be anxious. Nanmen Xian shouted angrily. Go back, all of you. Go back and wait. Let's observe the situation first, Nanming Xian said in a low voice. Let's see what this legend ranker is planning. Nanming Xian immediately and stealthily left the headquarters, returning to his own secret residence. At this moment the headquarters was much more dangerous. He did not dare to stay there. The night passed. The sky gradually brightened. That night, the headquarters of the Chamber of Commerce was not attacked. Alone in the courtyard, he frowned as he pondered, legend rankers, kill President Ying and the others first. You deliberately stayed in the restaurant and didn't leave, and then killed the people I sent. It was clearly a deliberate provocation. There was no way he would let it go just like that. But he didn't launch a sneak attack. What did this legend ranker want? Or do you have a grudge against my Skyfire trade union? Uneasy. If a legend ranker who had achieved one with the world really used a sneak attack, it would be enough to make the entire Chamber of Commerce panic. I have to solve this problem. I have to ask the elders for help. Nanming Xian quickly arrived at the backyard of his house and summoned a 5th-rank flying magical beast that was resting there. Let's go. He climbed onto the back of the flying magical beast. Hua! The huge cyan bird flapped its wings and quickly broke through the sky. Its speed quickly soared to the sky. At this moment Dongbu Shuiying was leaning on the roof of an inn, gazing at the eastern horizon. The sun had already begun to rise. This Nanming Xian did not sleep for the entire night. Now he actually rode a flying magical beast and left the Azure River County? Did he go to ask for help? Dongbu Shuiying thought, from the traces of my actions, he should have guessed that I am a legend ranker. Since that's the case, why would he still dare to ask for help? Who did he ask for help from? Could there be an even stronger power behind the Skyfire trade union? This immediately attracted the interest of Dongbu Shuiying. Shua! Dongbu Shuiying instantly turned into a gust of wind and soared into the clouds. He slowly flew through the clouds, following the huge green bird and Nanming Xian. The speed of the huge green bird was extremely fast, reaching the speed of sound. Even a legend ranker could only watch helplessly. But to Dongbu Shuiying it was too slow. Nanming Xian rode on the huge green bird and rushed through the clouds for a total of 6 hours. He had long since left the boundary of Azure River County, after which he landed, changed his appearance and followed a caravan. After traveling for half a day, he once again rode on a horse and traveled through the countryside. Dongbu Shuiying was very patient as he followed the caravan. His interest grew bigger and bigger. There will definitely be some special discoveries. Dongbu Shuiying was already looking forward to it. Nanming Xian rode on the horse for about 2 hours before arriving at a noble's territory. There was a luxurious castle there. The castle occupied an area of 5 kilometers, even larger than the Snowrock Castle. Of course, the current Dongbu clan, other than the original Snowrock Castle at the peak of the mountain, they had also constructed a large-scale castle at the foot of the mountain. Standing in midair, Dongbu Shuiying watched as Nanming Xian entered the castle. Really, Dongbu Shuiying's eyes lit up. His tentacles of heaven and earth power had long seeped into the clan's castle, and he could clearly see every corner of the castle. What a big fish! Dongbu Shuiying's eyes were filled with excitement. Looks like I have to start a massacre. Inside the castle, there were many traps. Nanming Xian was respectfully waiting in a hall. Nanming, elders was asking for you. A Silver Moon Knight said as he walked over. Thank you, Brother Yu. Nanming Xian smiled. When will Brother Yu come to my Skyfire trade union? I will properly entertain Brother Yu. It has been a long time since the two of us met. Now that the demons have descended, our mission has become even more important. We are not as carefree as Brother Nan Meng, who only needs to manage the trade union. The Silver Moon Knight smiled. Ai brother, you don't know this, but managing a trade union is not easy. Nan Meng Xian shook his head. The two of them quickly arrived outside a hall. Inside the hall, a blood-robed elder was sitting there. His eyelids were drooping, and a formless pressure emanated from him. Greetings, Elder Zhua. Nan Meng Xian walked into the hall respectfully. The blood-robed elder replied indifferently before opening his eyes. Nan Meng, what's the matter? You should know that I don't have the time to care about such trivial matters. Elder Zhua, the Skyfire Trade Union is in big trouble. Nan Meng Xian said. I have no other choice. Otherwise I wouldn't have come here. Big trouble. Elder Zhua frowned. The Skyfire Trade Union only rose after many years of support. It is under my control, so I will hand it over to you. If there is a problem, you will have to pay with your life, and I will also be in trouble. I know. Nan Meng Xian said. It's like this. He did not bother explaining. He was very clear about how intense the internal strife was. He was part of Elder Zhua's faction, so he naturally came to ask for help. If the Skyfire Trade Union suffered a huge loss, it would be too late. A legend ranker? Elder Zhua frowned. Who dares to oppose me? He naturally doesn't know that the Skyfire Trade Union belongs to you, Elder Zhua. Otherwise, even if he had 10 guts, he wouldn't have dared to do so. Nan Meng Xian flattered. Although he succeeded in ambushing the assassins you sent out, he might not be a legend ranker. Perhaps he is just a Silver Moon Knight who specializes in assassination. Elder Zhua sneered. Whatever. No matter who he is, you should go and discuss with him first. If you can settle this, it will be for the best. If you can't settle it, if he is too greedy, then just get rid of him. I will send 2 bronze emissaries to follow you back. Good. Nan Meng Xian was overjoyed. He knew how powerful the bronze emissaries were. 2 bronze emissaries should be enough to kill Si Liang Hong. That brat dares to provoke us. Soon, he will know that he has provoked someone he cannot afford to provoke. Humph. Chapter 176. Dongbu Shuang looked down at the castle from high up in the sky. With the power of heaven and earth, he could see everything from the moment Nan Meng Xian entered to the conversation with the left elder. What a big fish! Dongbu Shuang was in a good mood. Actually, a mortal's strength could not be seen from the outside. Their battle chi was hidden within their dantian and could not be seen. For example, when Dongbu Shuang became a legend ranker, if he did not say anything, no one would know. Even if it was a transcendent with a strong aura, as long as they retracted their aura, no one would be able to see the depth of their strength. Once a demon's aura was retracted, even human demigods would not be able to find it. Therefore, under the power of heaven and earth, he could only see that this castle was a refiner's castle. There were a few refiner arrays and a large number of guards. He could not see anything special about it. However, the words Nan Meng Xian said when he arrived at the castle gate exposed everything. Who is it? The castle guard shouted. B15 requests an audience with the left elder. Nan Meng Xian said respectfully. This simple conversation made Dongbu Shuang overjoyed. Who was Nan Meng Xian? He was the president of the Skyfire Trade Union. He was also a Silver Moon Knight. The trade union could easily mobilize millions of gold coins. The entire trade union had connections throughout the province. His position was so high that he was on the same level as a legend ranker. Such a big shot actually called himself B15? And he even requests an audience with the left elder? He was so respectful to the guards at the gate, not daring to show any arrogance. Perhaps it's a branch of the sorcerer god's temple? Or a branch of the demonic faction? Or the main altar of the demonic god? Dongbu Shuang speculated. In the mortal world, to be able to make Nan Meng Xian, the president of the trade union, act so respectfully, this mysterious organization's position could only be considered ordinary, could only be a transcendent power. A branch of the sorcerer god's temple, a branch of the demonic faction, and the main altar of the demonic god. The temple of the earth god had been chasing after the latter too. They were all hidden very deeply. If one of them was killed, the temple of the earth god's reward would be no less than killing a rank 1 or 2 demon. Currently, all the transcendents are searching for the evil demons. The evil demons are all in hiding. Dongbo Shuang smiled. No matter what, at least we have some results. At the very least, he would receive 100 or 2 contribution points. According to the importance of this place, there might be even more. Although the guards at the castle's main entrance were bored, they still stood ramrod straight and looked around carefully, checking for any signs of activity. Who? Suddenly, there was a gentle breeze and a black-clad youngster appeared at the castle's main entrance. Who is it? The castle guards were shocked. It was too fast. They immediately shouted after them. B15 requests an audience with Elder Zhua. The young man in black grinned. The castle guard's expressions changed drastically. B15? The one who just entered was B15. Enemy. A guard immediately shouted, and his voice traveled into the castle. The castle immediately fell into an uproar, and many people felt quite terrified. This place was too important. Many of them guarded this place for long periods of time. Some of them could not even take half a step out of this place for decades. On the surface, the strength of the clan that was disguised as this territory was quite strong. Nobody dared to attack this place. Now that they were being attacked, if they were to be exposed, the consequences would be too severe. You are right. I am the enemy. Dongbo Shuang grinned at the guard and casually kicked him twice. Pung! Pung! The 2 huge city gates, which weighed over 100,000 jin, were tightly shut. With a loud bang, the entire city wall of the main gate cracked open, and the 2 heavy and tall stone gates were kicked away with a whoosh. Just like an ordinary person kicking a pebble, the 2 huge and heavy city gates, which weighed more than 100,000 jin, were directly smashed into the distance, directly crushing a building in the distance. With a rumbling sound, the guards inside who wanted to rush out were directly smashed to death and crippled, wailing in pain. The guards at the entrance were all scared stiff. Even a legend ranker would not be able to do such a thing. Dongbo Shuang leisurely walked into the castle. Hong, immediately, a legend ranker manipulated the world energy and tried to investigate the situation. Previously, Dongbo Shuang had only used the world energy as a feeler. But now he was using force. Forcefully manipulating the world energy, the legend rankers within the castle could no longer control it. Kill! Kill him at all costs. The highest ranking leader within the castle knew that the situation was not good. However, this place could not be lost. Even if he died, this place could not be conquered. The enemy had to be killed and the important items must be transferred away. The intruder should be a transcendent. The highest ranking leader of the castle was dressed in a silver robe. His face was pale, but at this moment, his heart was trembling with anxiety. I hope that this transcendent can be killed. He must be killed. This place cannot be lost. Absolutely not. Reporting to Master, the outer corridor has been conquered. The mechanism has fallen. It has failed. He walked out from the rubble without a single injury on his body. Release all your poison and poison him to death. The voice of the silver-robed leader was trembling. It was useless. As a saint-rank transcendent, Dongbo Shuang was able to push his way through. Through his control of the world energy, he was able to understand the movements within the castle. He also knew who the leader was. However, he was not in a rush to push his way through. He wanted to see what else the leader of this castle could do. He wanted to see if he could lure out an even bigger fish. He had sufficient confidence in himself. What a joke. He could deal with almost all saint-rank transcendents. Perhaps only he, who was ranked in the top 10 of the saint rankings, would have a headache. However, he could rely on his extreme piercing to escape in an intense battle. What was he afraid of? Even if there was an enemy he could not deal with, he could just ask faction head Si Kongyang and Eternal Wind Knight to rush over. Even the powerful demigods of the Xia people could rush over. In this mortal world, the Xia people were the rulers. A direct clash. No one could win against the Xia people. That was why the demons had retreated. Let me see what other powerful moves you have. Dongbo Shuang continued to push forward as he observed the movements of the people within the castle. Quick, quick, quick. Everyone get ready. Bronze emissary, silver emissary, gold emissary. Move them all. Prepare the formations. The entire castle was in a state of frenzy. They already knew that the enemy was a transcendent, so they became even more frenzied. Even if they had to die in battle, they had to protect this place. They could not afford to lose this place. Elderswa was one of the elders with an extremely high status within the castle. He rushed towards the inner castle with Nanming Xian and a few other subordinates following behind him. So. Their speed was extremely fast as they rushed into the inner castle. They leapt up. They quickly arrived at the highest point of the inner castle. Standing beside the railing and looking into the distance, they could see that the majestic castle was continuously collapsing. It was as though a monster was advancing. Everything was being destroyed. Nothing could stop it. So powerful. Elderswa could see clearly. He saw the youth in black leisurely moving forward. Everywhere he passed, everything was destroyed. All of the defensive measures within the castle, including the methods that could easily kill a pseudo-transcendent, were like a joke. It's him? Nanming Xian exclaimed. He had long since obtained a sketch of Dongbua Shuiying's appearance after his spies had changed. You know him? Elderswa turned his head. The others beside him also looked over. Nanming Xian was incomparably nervous. He nodded. I know him. He is the youth in black that subordinate mentioned. He is the one who killed Vice President Ying. Ah, it's him? Elderswa's eyes widened and his face turned pale. So it was you who lured him here. Nanming Xian's face was deathly pale. Because of that Vice President Ying, that dog-like little character, you actually brought such a calamity to our organization and attracted such a terrifying transcendent. Elderswa angrily pointed at Nanming Xian, his finger trembling. You, for such a disaster, let alone him. Even the high and mighty leader would not be able to atone for his sins even if he died. After death, his soul would probably suffer endless torment. I don't know. Nanming Xian also understood that he had really caused a huge disaster. Chapter 177. Come with me. Elderswa gritted his teeth and shouted. At the same time, he rushed towards another part of the inner castle. Nanming Xian could only obediently follow behind him. Very soon, on another wide balcony in the inner castle, the silver-robed leader was coldly looking at everything that was happening in the distance. The black-robed youth was constantly advancing, and everything was being destroyed. At this moment, the strongest force that could be mobilized in the entire castle had been completely mobilized. They were making their final preparations to eliminate the enemy in one fell swoop. If they failed again this time, they would really be at their wits' end. Reporting to leader. Elderswa brought Nanming Xian in. There were other elders here as well. Why did Elderswa let a junior in? The other elders frowned. The hierarchy in the organization was strict. But at this moment of life and death, they did not reprimand him. What is it? The silver-robed leader didn't even turn around. My subordinate knows about this transcendent. Elderswa hastily said. The silver-robed leader abruptly turned his head and his fiery gaze immediately landed on Nanming Xian, who was standing behind the left elder. The other elders were also staring at Nanming Xian. Speak, the silver-robed leader barked. He killed one of my Skyfire Trade Union's vice presidents. I sent our strongest team of assassins after him, but they were easily killed by him. I suspect that he is a legend ranker and am worried that the Skyfire Trade Union will be in big trouble. Thus, after pondering for an entire night, I immediately rushed over. Nanming Xian hurriedly said, I didn't expect him to be a transcendent. I really didn't expect that. Also, I'm very careful and I'm very cautious when I come. The silver-robed leader's gaze turned cold, bone-chilling. Nanming Xian's heart trembled and even his voice trembled. It's actually just a vice president? The silver-robed leader was in great pain. It was just a damned vice president. A trash like nobody. Even if the entire Skyfire Trade Union was destroyed, it would still be a small matter. But now it brought such a disaster. In that instant of anger, he thought of many ways to torture this damnable Nanming Xian. However, he soon understood that it was useless. No matter how angry he was, it was useless. It was too late. The silver-robed leader coldly looked at Nanmeng Xian. He could not be bothered to speak any more nonsense. He turned around and continued to look into the distance. Right now he could only hope that his final counterattack would succeed. If he failed, he didn't even dare to think about the consequences. Nanmeng Xian's entire body was covered in cold sweat. His clothes had long been drenched in cold sweat. He stood there in a daze, his mind in chaos. How did things turn out like this? He regretted it. If he had known that the damned Vice President Ying would have died, he would have just ignored it. He was even willing to apologize to the black-clothed youth. How did he manage to track us? Nanmeng Xian also did not dare to believe it. Such a powerful transcendent being. With just a little bit of strength, for example through the Dragon Mountain Manor, he would be able to suppress the entire Skyfire trade union. However, he had killed the vice president first and then a team of assassins. Was there a need to deal with the Chamber of Commerce like this? And even monitored at all times? How could a transcendent be so bored? But he did not know. When Dongbu Shuiying was searching for the traces of the devils, he would also be enraged when he encountered things that made him want to uphold justice. However, he did not want to expose his extraordinary strength. In the past, his chivalrous deeds were just trivial matters that did not cause any big waves. And this time when he was serving justice, he had clearly encountered a big fish. It's starting the final battle. The silver-robed leader, as well as the other elders, stared at the battle. Not even legend rankers were qualified to participate in this battle. If they went, they would only be swept away. Amen? Dongbu Shuiying looked at the 21 figures surrounding him. There were men and women, fat and skinny, old and young, and all of them looked ordinary. However, the astonishing speed at which they had surrounded him clearly showed that these 21 figures were not ordinary. Hiss! One of the elders had a sinister look on his face as he let out a low roar. Black fur began to appear on his skin, fangs appeared at the corners of his mouth, and scales began to appear on his skin. In the blink of an eye, the old man had turned into a demon-like creature with scales and strange black fur on the surface of the scales. He had fangs in his mouth, and his fingernails were like daggers. Not only him, the other 20 people also started to transform into monsters, and their auras were completely released. Demonification. Dongbu Shuiying grinned. It's actually demonification. A total of 21 demonified experts. Seems like this place is quite important. Are you from the demonic faction, or are you the subordinates of some other demonic god? Demonification. This was a special technique that was commonly seen in the dark abyss. Whether it was a demon or a high and mighty demonic god, they were all famous for their tyrannical bodies. In terms of cultivating tyrannical bodies, the demonic gods of the dark abyss had done a lot of research. For example, those transcendents who relied on the demonic faction were able to obtain more advanced cultivation methods of the demonic god lineage. They were able to cultivate demonic energy, which could be used to temper their bodies with secret techniques. Scales would also appear on the surface of their bodies. Thus, those transcendents who relied on the demonic faction, once their strength was completely unleashed, their bodies would be covered with scales. Their defense would be astonishing, and their strength would be tyrannical. Every single one of them would have a near-immortal body. Some of the stronger ones would even have an immortal body. As for the demonification in front of them, it was of a lower level. After all, the demonification of mortals was usually done by star knights. Most mortals who demonified would die immediately, and it was very difficult for them to survive. However, those who survived would have a demonified body, possessing immense strength and a lifespan comparable to a transcendence. Kill! 21 phantoms instantly charged over. Crackle! The silent array was also roused. In fact, the entire castle's array was originally very ordinary, but at the moment of life and death, some key array tools were taken out of storage treasures, and the power of the array sharply increased, directly reaching the extraordinary saint grade. To be able to display such power just by relying on these mobile array tools, the value of these array tools alone would probably be at least 500 contribution points. The countless threads that were activated by the array were like intelligent snakes. They rapidly slithered over from all directions and wrapped around Dongbu Shuiying, attempting to bind Dongbu Shuiying. Interesting. Dongbu Shuiying revealed a happy expression. Good fella, if I can get my hands on these array tools, it would be a huge profit. That Nanming Xian had really allowed me to earn quite a bit this time. Pooh! A dart appeared in Dongbu Shuiying's hand, and he casually threw it out. Extreme piercing. As the saying goes, flying flowers and plucking leaves can all be used to display extreme piercing. Shua! The dart instantly disappeared and reappeared 100 meters underground. Following which, the dart directly pierced through a crystal ball within the array. This was the energy conversion core. These array tools were too precious. Dongbu Shuiying could not bear to destroy them. This type of energy conversion core was very common, and its value was relatively low. The crystal ball shattered. The energy within the array instantly stopped, and the countless threads disappeared. So. Dongbu Shuiying casually waved his hand, and 21 transcendent douqi flew in all directions. Each transcendent douqi revolved, and all of them pierced through the heads of those demonified humans. Instantly they all fell to the ground dead. Not bad. These demonified humans, the strongest one seems to have the strength of a mid-sky realm warrior. Dongbu Shuiying said softly. 21 of them, 15 were peak legend rankers, 5 were early sky realm warriors, and 1 was mid-sky realm warrior. Of course, in front of Dongbu Shuiying there was no difference. All of them were fated to be swept away. Dongbu Shuiying raised his head and looked at the distant balcony of the inner castle. On that balcony stood the silver-robed leader. How could this array? The silver-robed leader was in despair. How could such a powerful array suddenly lose its effect? 21 powerful emissaries were killed in an instant? Dongbu Shuiying continued advancing. He walked towards the inner castle. He was still very carefree, and there was even a smile on his face. This was because he was in a good mood. Come, let me see what other powerful methods you have. Hong! All of a sudden, the space in front of the inner castle started to distort, and a terrifying aura appeared. Dongbu Shuiying's expression changed as he looked at the distorted space in front of him. That distorted space was faintly resonating with the space in the outer world. A terrifying power, separated by many spaces and hundreds of millions of kilometers, forcibly passed through the barrier of the material world's membrane and directly transmitted to this place. A majestic figure started to condense and form. The silver-robed leader who was standing on the balcony of the inner castle immediately knelt down. Demon God above! Demon God above! The other elders knelt down one after another. Nanming Xian's face turned pale as he also knelt down. Chapter 178. This towering figure had a pair of gray horns and dark red skin. He was dressed in a luxurious black robe. Demonic god? Dongbu Shuiying could feel the terrifying pressure from this towering figure. It was a power that he had never felt before. It had completely surpassed the demigods of the Xia people. However, there was another mysterious and unfathomable power enveloping the towering figure, easily suppressing the towering figure and suppressing its strength to an extremely low level. Damned world consciousness! The towering figure cursed under his breath, following which, his gaze landed on Dongbu Shuiying. His amber-like eyes carried a hint of a smile, and the smile on his face became even brighter. His body started to shrink, rapidly shrinking to the same size as Dongbu Shuiying. Then he descended to the ground. Dongbu Shuiying, am I right? The demonic god smiled warmly. Dongbu Shuiying looked curiously at the demonic god in front of him. God. This was the first time he came into contact with a god. However, from his appearance, he could guess that this was a demonic god from the dark abyss. Having read through the records of all the demigods in the history of the Xia people, Dongbu Shuiying knew that this was the so-called world projection of a god. Gods were unable to enter the material world directly. Even the gods of the Xia people, like the Dragon Mountain Emperor and the Cloud Sea Emperor, would be expelled from the material world the moment their lifespan reached 10,000 years. As for the gods from the outside world, they would be completely expelled and unable to enter. Therefore, there were two ways for gods to enter. The first was relatively simple. It was to send down a world projection. The Xia clan's long history of accumulating knowledge allowed them to understand the method of sending down a world projection. First, they would place a spatial mark on this material world. Then, separated by a great distance and many spatial obstructions, They would forcefully project their energy onto the spatial mark, forming a projection. The amount of God power required to do this was extremely terrifying. To maintain the existence of a world projection, one would need to expend God power continuously. The price was very high. Therefore, in the world of the Xia people, the demonic gods would only send down their world projections at crucial moments. Of course, some newly ascended gods like the Dragon Mountain Emperor couldn't do this. Only powerful deities who had cultivated to an extremely high realm could send down a heart world projection. In the history of the Xia people, the ancestors of the Xia people, such as the Cloud Sea Emperor, had sent down a world projection. The second method was extremely difficult, and it was to send a clone. The price of summoning an avatar was extremely terrifying. Even an existence like Emperor Yun Hai would not be able to bear such a burden. In the world of the Xia people, only the Temple of the Earth God and the demonic faction had a deity avatar descend. That was when the two great powers fought over the faith of the Xia people's world. Both sides madly clashed head-on, even paying a terrifying price to send down a clone of a deity. That great battle caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to rend, with countless casualties. In the end, the demonic faction was defeated. Since then, they had completely hidden themselves in the darkness, never clashing head-on with the Temple of the Earth God again. The doppelganger of a god spirit was terrifying. Although they were suppressed by the material world and their strength was suppressed to the limits of a demigod, however, their utilization of the various laws of profound mysteries far surpassed that of a demigod, so their battle prowess was extremely terrifying. It has been 30,000 years since I last descended. The demonic god laughed. To be able to see a young human transcendent with boundless prospects, it is truly a joyous matter. Let us sit down, drink some wine and slowly chat, alright? Dongbo Shuang laughed. Drink wine? Sure, when I was a child I had dreamed of drinking wine with a deity. I never thought that it would come true today. Please. The demonic god gestured with his hand. Dongbo Shuang did not stand on ceremony and directly walked towards the main hall of the castle. The silver-robed leader and the group of elders kneeling on the balcony of the castle were all shocked. The demonic god descended? He was actually drinking wine with this transcendent? And he was Dongbo Shuang? It's actually Dongbo Shuang? The silver-robed leader and the rest finally understood. This person who had come knocking on their door was the legendary youngest transcendent in the past 1,000 years. Dongbo Shuang. Quickly come and serve the wine. A cold voice rang in the silver-robed leader's ears. Yes. The silver-robed leader immediately obeyed the order and quickly went down. Within the luxurious hall, Dongbo Shuang was the first to sit down, not at all courteous. He was still controlling the heaven and earth energy to envelop the surrounding 50 kilometers, monitoring everything. The descent of the demonic god had actually made him even more vigilant. You and that great demon god from the demonic faction? Dongbo Shuang asked. I am just an ordinary demonic god from the dark abyss. How can I be compared to the great demon god? The demonic god hurriedly said, I am called Wu Yunhua. In your Xia people's world, I am just one of the many demonic gods. I am very inconspicuous. Dongbo Shuang nodded his head slightly. This demonic god's attitude was very low, very abnormal. Furthermore, according to what he knew, a deity had to forcefully project his world across many dimensions. The amount of energy required to maintain the projection was also very shocking. Yet, this demonic god was actually leisurely drinking wine with him? There must be some sort of scheme. How did you know that I am Dongbo Shuang? Dongbo Shuang asked. He was also happy to waste time. In the entire Tranquil Sun province, there are only you and Peng Shan. The demonic god Wu Yunhua grinned, revealing his sharp teeth. Peng Shan is old while you have a youthful aura. I guess that you are Dongbo Shuang. Looking at your reaction, my guess is indeed correct. Great demonic god. The silver-robed leader was pouring wine by the side. He was incomparably respectful as he poured wine for both parties. Dongbo Shuang drank the wine. The taste of this wine could only be considered ordinary. He had drunk better wine in the Xia capital. However, the one drinking with him today was a demonic god. This was truly something to be proud of. I have a matter that I would like to ask little friend Dongbo Shuang for a favor. The demonic god Wu Yunhua smiled. Speak. Dongbo Shuang said. AI, you should know that the dark abyss cannot be compared to the deity world. It is far too cruel. The demonic god Wu Yunhua shook his head and sighed. I painstakingly left behind a spatial mark in the Xia people's world. After a long period of nurturing, I was finally able to nurture a batch of subordinates. I have toiled and schemed, and paid a hefty price to obtain a bit of faith in the Xia people's world. It was truly not easy. There are still a bunch of other deities and demonic gods fighting for faith in the Xia people's world. Not to mention the strongest demonic faction and the temple of the earth god. Demonic gods like us truly do not have it easy. The demonic god Wu Yunhua sighed. Dongbo Shuiying listened. Some transcendence might resonate with him, but he had read too many scrolls. He was very clear that faith in the material world was extremely precious. Those who could stretch their hands into the material world were already extremely powerful existences. Don't be fooled by how courteous this demonic god Wu Yunhua was towards him. It was because he could not kill his way in with his true body. If his true body were to come over, a single breath of air would probably be enough to destroy him. As for the world projection, it was suppressed by the entire material world. Its strength was suppressed to the limits of a mortal. Although the demonic god Wu Yunhua's usage of the laws of profound mysteries was much stronger than his own, its strength was suppressed to the limits of a mortal. Even if he stood here and let him hit him, he would not be able to harm him at all. The world projection was suppressed to the limits of a mortal. The deity doppelganger was suppressed to the limits of a demigod. And from the difference in strength, one could deduce the terrifying price to pay for the deity doppelganger to descend. It was precisely because he was weak that he had to lower his head. I have a total of 19 provinces. Actually, I have only built 12 main altars. Wu Yunhua shook his head. And the place you are attacking now is one of those main altars. Every single one of them is the result of my blood, sweat, and tears. Thus, I would like to ask little friend Dongbo Shuiying to help me out. Show mercy and don't kill them all. If you help me this time, I will naturally thank you, little friend, Wu Yunhua said. I am willing to give you a gift worth 2,000 kilograms of origin stones. Little friend Dongbo Shuiying, just pretend that this matter never happened. Are you willing? Chapter 179. 2,000 kilograms of origin stones? How generous! Dongbo Shuiying sighed. Demonic god Wu Yunhua said, you should understand that I am currently in the dark abyss. It is very difficult for me to send treasures to the Xia people's world. Thus, 2,000 kilograms of origin stones is already a lot. I know. Usually, you have to go through the space-time temple to send them. Dongbo Shuiying laughed. The heavenly realm and the dark abyss were too far away from the material world. It was also very difficult to descend. Previously, when the demons invaded the material world, it was only because of a coincidence that such a passage was formed. And if a demonic god or a god wanted to send some resources to the material world, the cost of the transport was usually much higher than the value of the items. Gods were unable to descend, and world projections were unable to bring items. Therefore, only through the legendary Space-Time Temple, which was a legendary existence, the members of the Space-Time Temple could travel to countless worlds. They could help to send items to the Xia people's world, but they had to pay a huge fee. Yes, you have to go through the Space-Time Temple, Wu Yunhua said. Wu Yunhua said, that's why you should understand my sincerity for a gift worth 2,000 kilograms of origin stones. I am very curious. Dongbo Shuiying held his wine cup. This main altar has already been destroyed by me. The demonized envoys that you spent so much effort to nurture have all been killed by me. There were only altar masters and elders left. Did you take out 2,000 kilograms of origin stones as a gift just to save them? Is it worth it? The silver-robed leader stood to the side, holding a wine jug. He secretly glanced at Dongbo Shuiying. No, of course they are not worth it. Wu Yunhua explained. But after a long time of infiltration, the entire Anyang province's underground network is worth it. Once this main altar is completely destroyed, the Xia people's Dragon Mountain Manor will use the main altar to find the many branches and uproot the underground network. If they die, then they die. But the underground network cannot be destroyed. Wu Yunhua said. They are the ones who truly contributed faith. Is that so? Dongbo Shuiying sighed. What a perfect reason. I can't find any flaws. Wu Yunhua's expression changed slightly before he smiled. You should be able to understand that what I said is the truth. Faith is the most important thing to me. What, do you think 2,000 kilograms of origin stones is too little? Sigh, so it was like this. A gift worth 3,000 kilograms of origin stones. If you were in the dark abyss, I wouldn't mind giving you 100,000 kilograms of origin stones. But you are in the material world. It's too difficult for me to send treasures over. I'm just an ordinary demon god, one of the many evil gods and demon gods. Why make things difficult for me? Acting pitiful on purpose. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. Fiend celestials are truly crafty. Do you agree to this deal? Wu Yunhua asked anxiously. Sorry, I don't agree. Dongbua Shuiying shook his head. Wu Yunhua's amber eyes were filled with anger. He was truly enraged. That damnable human transcendent. With his strength, he could easily crush this little bug to death. But his original body was in the dark abyss. His world projection was suppressed to the mortal limit by the Xia people's world. It couldn't threaten this transcendent in front of him. Why don't you agree? Wu Yunhua asked anxiously. Because of your main altar leader. Dongbua Shuiying smiled. I have to thank him. Him? Wu Yunhua turned to look at the silver-robed leader. The silver-robed leader was also shocked. Yes. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. Respected Lord Demon God, when you descended, I found out that this is one of the main altars of the evil gods and demon gods. And according to the countless scrolls I read under normal circumstances, when a transcendent of the Xia people attacks the main altar of an evil god or demon god, the main altar should quickly flee in all directions, not daring to resist. But this main altar leader gave the order to kill me at all costs. Dongbua Shuiying sighed. It's very strange. I am a transcendent of the Xia people. I can immediately ask the demigods of the Xia people to help me. The chances of him killing me are very low. But he actually wants to fight to the death. Lord Demon God, don't you think it's strange? Dongbua Shuiying looked at Wu Yunhua. And at the crucial moment you actually descended. Out of 19 provinces, just one main altar destroyed, you can definitely handle it. According to what I know, the number of times when a main altar is destroyed, the number of times a god's world projection descends is also very small. Dongbua Shuiying chuckled. These are not the main reasons. The main reason is, you, an evil god or demon god, want to make the transcendence of the Xia people compromise. Dongbua Shuiying laughed coldly. Dream on. Xia people transcendence in history did not care about these evil gods or demon gods. So what if they were strong? They could not enter with their true bodies, so it was useless no matter how strong they were. After all, most of the transcendents of the Xia people could not become gods. Once they became gods, they would have the chance to step into the vast world. That was nothing. The god realm was too vast. In the god realm, those evil gods were only the overlords of some small corner of the world. The chances of encountering one was like a meat pie falling from the sky. As for demon gods, human transcendents who cultivated normally would enter the god realm in the future. Demon gods did not need to care about them. Human. Wu Yunhua suppressed his anger. I advise you not to make an enemy out of a god. Respected Lord Demon God. This is the world of the Xia people. Don't put on airs in front of me, okay? Dongbua Shuiying said with a smile. Wu Yunhua's eyes burned with flames. He suppressed his anger. 2,500 kilograms of origin stones. This is the biggest price I can pay. If you are happy, I am happy too, isn't that right? No. Dongbua Shuiying shook his head. Boom. Wu Yunhua suddenly stood up. His body was covered in flames, and a terrifying pressure filled the air. It was as if the entire world was about to be destroyed. His amber eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Dongbua Shuiying. I am unable to truly descend, but since you have angered me, you will pay a price that you cannot bear. Human, I have already given you a lot of face. Are you trying to threaten me? Dongbua Shuiying's flaming transcendent battle chi surged out in all directions. The table in front of him instantly exploded. Wu Yunhua was knocked backwards by the battle chi, and his body became blurry. Following this, the darkness abyss continued to transmit energy into his body, causing it to reform. You, a demon god, dare to threaten the Xia people of the Xia people? Dongbo Shuang laughed coldly. Wu Yunhua was furious. In the darkness abyss he was the true overlord who ruled over an incomparably vast territory. Countless creatures submitted to him. Today the Xia people of the Xia people didn't give him any face. But he couldn't do anything about it. He really wanted to succeed in this negotiation because he really didn't want to lose anything here. The price of losing something here was simply too great. If it weren't for the fact that he was worried about Dongbo Shuiying's suspicions, he would have been willing to hand over 50,000 kilograms of origin stones and let Dongbo Shuiying leave. When he said 50,000 kilograms, Dongbo Shuiying was already very surprised. If he dared to say 50,000 kilograms of origin stones, Dongbo Shuiying would definitely be able to guess that there was something special about this place. It was even more impossible for him to agree. You really don't want to agree? Wu Yunhua stood there, his voice calm. Dongbo Shuiying also understood that this demon god was no longer willing to negotiate, and was now giving him an ultimatum. If he refused, he would completely offend this demon god. Offend him? Xia people of the Xia people's fear of demon gods was a joke. I refuse. Dongbo Shuiying also stood up. Very good. Very good. Wu Yunhua coldly stared at Dongbo Shuiying. Human, remember this. You will regret your decision today. At the same time, in the inner castle, apart from the silver-robed leader, a group of elders and Nanmeng Xian, there was also a group of servants. One of the servants was chubby and had a simple and honest face. He even had a mustache. He looked very ordinary, but at this moment, a wave of energy transmitted into his mind. Negotiations have failed. This damned human Dongbo Shuiying is completely unwilling to compromise. I don't want to lose anything here. It's time for you to act. Kill this Dongbo Shuiying. Lord Demon God, I only swallowed 10,000 human souls that you provided. You want me to take such a big risk? The servant replied in his mind. Chapter 180. You want to go against the oath? The demonic god Wu Yunhua was furious. A weak demon dared to bargain in front of him? In the dark abyss, countless demons submitted to him. None of them dared to disobey his orders, because those who disobeyed him were long dead. Among his countless subjects, he could not even be bothered to look at a demon of this level. They were not even qualified to attract his attention. This was because this was the world of the Xia people. As a demonic god, the power he could use in the world of the Xia people was too little. That was why he made an oath with this weak demon. Lord Demonic God, of course I would not dare to go against the oath. But the oath clearly stated that I cannot do anything that will result in my death. The servant replied. Dabaishi. This Dongbo Shuiying became a transcendent 20 years ago. Currently, he has only just broken through to the early stage of the Saint Realm. Furthermore, he has only cultivated for a short period of time. With your combat power, I'm afraid you can kill him in a single move. You have about a breath's time to fight. In a breath's time, you can easily attack more than 100 times. Xia people transcendents would immediately report the demon to their superiors. However, Xia people demigods would need a breath's time to rush over. This was because teleportation, which took a very short time, covered a very short distance. It required teleportation time and time again. The more time it took, the more time it took. It was not suitable for long-distance travel. Tearing open a spatial tunnel to travel through it would also take some time, about a breath's time. This breath's time was also the most dangerous moment for Xia people transcendents. If they were lucky, Xia people transcendents would discover the demon, but the demon would not discover them. Naturally, this would be the easiest. As long as they reported it, the Xia people demigods would arrive and easily finish off the demon. However, if the demon also discovered the Xia people transcendents, then they would counterattack. This would be dangerous. It would be best if Xia people transcendents could kill the demon. If they could not, they would have to try their best to survive for a breath's time. In history, during the war with the demons, many Xia clan transcendents had died under the demon's counterattack. If I kill him, the demigods of the Xia people will arrive soon. How can I escape? I will bring you along and quickly teleport away. Although my strength has been suppressed, these Xia people are far from being able to compare to me in terms of the usage of laws and profound mysteries. I can easily escape with you. Half a breath. I will fight for half a breath. If I lose, you must take me away immediately. The chubby servant replied in his mind, all right. In half a breath's time, even if you fail, I will still bring you away. Demon god Wu Yunhua was also looking forward to it. As long as he managed to kill Dongbo Shuiying, he would immediately escape with this demon. Once the human demigods arrived, they would definitely follow the spatial ripples and chase after them. For the time being, the humans wouldn't care about those weak mortals. It would also take time for the mortals of the Dragon Mountain Manor to arrive. By then, the subordinates hidden in the main altar would have enough time to dismantle the treasures and move them. If they could negotiate, they would negotiate. If the negotiation failed, then kill. The treasure must be protected. What's wrong? Lord Demon God is so angry that he's about to go crazy? Dongbo Shuiying looked at the black-robed, red-skinned, horned demon god in front of him. However, he didn't know that this demon god had already negotiated with another demon. After all, the demon god's usage of laws and profound mysteries was too profound. Compared to the demon god right now, he was just a young and immature fellow on the path of transcendence. Humph! Wu Yunhua snorted coldly. Just as he snorted, Hua, a chubby servant who was originally a few hundred meters away, suddenly burst forth with speed. In an instant he had already passed through the corridor and appeared in front of Dongbo Shuiying. Not good. Dongbo Shuiying's expression changed. He could already clearly see that countless black scales had appeared on the chubby and honest servant's body. His body had also expanded to a height of 2 zhang. On top of his thick palms that were filled with fine red scales, a pair of huge ox-horned axes appeared. The edges of the axes were incomparably sharp, sending chills down one's spine. A layer of fine red scales also appeared on his face. His pair of dark yellow eyes were filled with brutality. Demon! Dongbo Shuiying's consciousness immediately reported to the Infernal Palace through his communication wristband. Demon discovered. Demon? The demigod closest to Dongbo Shuiying was the Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi, who was currently in the Tranquil Sun Province. At this moment, he was in the Eternal Wind Academy, giving pointers to his 2 disciples. Snow Eagle discovered the demon? Qiu Qi stood up abruptly. He had received the news through his communication wristband, and had also obtained the exact location of Dongbo Shuiying. Qiu Qi could not be bothered to speak to his disciples. Right now, every second was of the essence. This was because if he was even the slightest bit slower, the transcendence of the Xia people who discovered the demon might lose their lives. Shua! The space in front of him was violently torn apart. Qiu Qi took a step forward and entered it. As Dongbo Shuiying was reporting to the Infernal Palace, a long spear appeared in his hands, demigod weapon Stellar Fire Cloud Spear. Hiss! The huge ugly feet stomped on the stone tiles on the ground, causing the ground to cave in. The stone tiles that it stepped on turned into powder, and the surrounding ground started to crack. The huge ox-horned axe in his right hand danced in the air. It was as though the heavens and earth were being sliced apart. In an instant, the huge ox-horned axe appeared in front of Dongbo Shuiying. Too fast. Too ferocious. The blade of this ox-horned axe was even taller than Dongbo Shuiying himself. The entire axe was enveloped in a layer of fiery red light, causing Dongbo Shuiying to feel as though he was looking at a volcano erupting. The boundless ferocious might seem to be unstoppable. Xiu! The moment the spear appeared in Dongbo Shuiying's hands, he did not hesitate to unleash his most ferocious attack. Extreme piercing. Sila Dongbo Shuiying's figure flickered, and he disappeared along with his spear, following which, he reappeared in front of Dongbo Shuiying, about 1 zhang in the air. His entire body seemed to have teleported more than 1 zhang away, allowing Dongbo Shuiying to completely dodge the terrifying ox-horned axe's horizontal slash. Furthermore, Dongbo Shuiying's spear directly pierced towards the demon's head. It was too fast, too strange. His other hand that was holding onto the huge ox-horned axe hurriedly moved forward. The axe's length and width were about 1 zhang, and with this move, it narrowly blocked the tip of Dongbo Shuiying's spear. Hong! This was a move that had not been held back at all, and the collision created a terrifying shockwave. The shockwave exploded outwards in all directions, and in an instant, a large number of stone slabs within 100 meters were turned into dust. The body of the silver-robed leader who had been pouring wine for them was also directly torn apart by the shockwave, and he died on the spot. Even the demonic god's world projection hurriedly evaded the shockwave, and in an instant it was already several li away. No. The elders, the Silver Moon Knights, the servants, and even that Nanming Exine all died. As the stone slabs turned into dust, and as the stone slabs around them shattered, other than a legend ranker who left behind a relatively intact corpse, the bodies of the others were completely destroyed. How could this be? Even in death, Nanming Exine could not understand how a single Baron Yin's death could lead to such a terrifying outcome. Chapter 181. Demon Dabishi staggered 2 steps back before regaining his balance. He could feel the piercing power from Dongbui Shuiying's spear entering his body, making him feel very uncomfortable. This terrifying piercing power is just a small matter. It can't even shake my powerful body. But how did he suddenly disappear just now? How did he suddenly teleport more than 10 feet away? He can even change his position in the middle of a battle? This is too troublesome. What? Dongbui Shuiying was equally shocked. I used my full strength and he only took 2 steps back? His body was still at a disadvantage. His body was only at the peak of the sky realm, and his transcendent chi was only at the saint initial phase. During the battle, he had relied on the embryonic true meaning of extreme piercing to form the power of the laws of profound mysteries. The power of the laws of profound mysteries was already very terrifying, but his own chi was still too weak. That was why Dongbui Shuiying had exchanged for a demigod weapon, the Stellar Fire Cloud Spear. A demigod weapon coupled with extreme piercing allowed his attack power to increase explosively. Only then did he have the qualifications to fight against a peak saint. But after using his full strength, his opponent only took 2 steps back? His body is too strong and his strength is too strong. Dongbui Shuiying made his judgment. Demon Dabishi, who had taken 2 steps back, opened his mouth wide and revealed his fangs. He let out a terrifying roar that caused even the space around him to tremble. Bo bo bo, the roar spread out in all directions, causing visible ripples in the space around him. This roar was as violent as a volcano eruption. Under the effects of the profound mysteries of the sound waves, Dongbui Shuiying's body would be easily turned into dust. Seeing the ripples spreading out, Dongbui Shuiying's expression changed. So. Dongbui Shuiying immediately used his extreme piercing to retreat. It was impossible for him to dodge this terrifying roar with normal flying speed. Although Dongbui Shuiying's speed was 10 times faster than the speed of sound, this roar contained the laws of profound mysteries. In the blink of an eye, it covered an area of over 1,000 meters. Fortunately, extreme piercing was extremely fast. In the air above the ruined inner castle, Dongbui Shuiying's silhouettes appeared 3 times and retreated 200 meters away. The power of the furious roar weakened as it traveled further. When it reached a distance of 200 meters, Dongbui Shuiying swung his spear in a circle, executing the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind to suppress the furious roar. Demon Dabishi also stopped roaring. This roar had obviously caused great damage to his throat, but with his terrifying regenerative abilities, he would quickly recover. Shwa shwa. Dongbui Shuiying instantly closed in on Demon Dabishi. Die! In an instant, Dongbui Shuiying transformed into 3 silhouettes. The 3 silhouettes simultaneously appeared in 3 different directions around Demon Dabishi, each holding a spear and thrusting it forward. Demon Dabishi was shocked. An illusion? Which one of them is real? A fiery red radiance appeared on the surface of his body. This fiery red radiance also emitted fluctuations of the laws of profound mysteries, spreading in all directions. He wielded 2 gigantic ox-horned axes in his hands in a panic to defend himself. When the fluctuations reached 2 of the illusions, Dongbui Shuiying's real body wielded his spear and moved a foot horizontally. Just this 1 foot was enough to stop the ox-horned axes from defending themselves. Die! Dongbui Shuiying's eyes were filled with killing intent. Poochie! The stellar fire cloud spear instantly pierced into Demon Dabishi's head. However, at this moment, Dongbui Shuiying felt a sense of difficulty, and he immediately knew that something was amiss. The tip of the spear rotated. Originally, it was supposed to pierce through Demon Dabishi's skull, but now it pierced through his face. Although he still felt some resistance this time, he forcefully penetrated through. It completely pierced through his face. Then it exploded. The explosive power of the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind rushed up to the inside of the demon's skull, turning it into a paste. Dongbu Shuiying immediately retreated. This demon's skull is too hard. Dongbu Shuiying was inwardly shocked. My extreme piercing was actually unable to pierce through his skull. Fortunately, my spear technique is extremely fast, and I was able to pierce through his face and kill him. After all, he was only at the embryonic form of extreme piercing, and this demon's body was too strong. Chi, Demon Dabishi stood there, but the injuries on his skull were rapidly recovering. The gigantic hole on his face was also recovering rapidly. What? Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. Undying body. Transcendents also had vital points on their bodies. For example, the heart, throat, etc. were normal vital points. However, the skull was the truly fatal one. However, as one's body gradually grew stronger, the vital points would no longer be vital. In fact, if one were to attain the undying body, not a single part of the body would be a vital point. Even if the body was completely torn apart, it would still be able to regenerate. Demons were generally more talented than primordial life forms. According to the intelligence report on demons sent by the Xia people, about 20% of rank 4 demons had grasped the undying body. More than half of rank 5 demons had grasped the undying body. Demigod demons. All of them definitely had the undying body. This powerful demon had clearly cultivated his body to the point of attaining the undying body realm. General, save me. Demon Dabishi's consciousness immediately called for help through his communication treasure. The Xia people had communication wristbands. In the darkness abyss there were countless demonic gods. In terms of forging equipment, deity weapons, etc., they were much stronger than the Xia people. These low-level demons did not have powerful weapons, but they still had communication treasures. Dabishi? What's the matter? There's a transcendent from the Xia people. I'm not his match. Demon Dabishi was incomparably anxious. Who is he? It's Dongbu Shuiying. His name is Dongbu Shuiying. Demon Dabishi begged. General, save me. Although the wound on his head had yet to recover, he still wielded his giant horned battle axe and tried his best to block. In reality, his angry roar was the only move that could threaten Dongbu Shuiying. However, the huge hole on his face had yet to fully recover, so he could not roar at all. Boom boom boom. Dongbu Shuiying used his extreme piercing to surround him and attack with his spear again and again. His face exploded once again. His throat was pierced, exploding and breaking apart. His 2 arms were pierced, leaving huge holes in them. Perhaps Demon Dabishi's skull was extremely hard, and his horns were also very hard. However, the muscles, skin, and scales on his body could not block Dongbu Shuiying's spear. Almost instantly, many holes appeared on his body, and his 2 arms fell off. General, save me. Demon Dabishi's consciousness anxiously called for help through his communication treasure. Although he had an undying body, it did not mean that he could not die. For example, the demigod-ranked demon from before had also been killed by the demigods of the Xia people. Now Demon Dabishi could not resist at all. He could only be ravaged and eventually die. Dongbu Shuiying stood there. The fiery red transcendent battle chi in his body flew out like countless threads, wrapping around the demon's head, arms, and legs. The demon's entire body was split apart and suppressed by the transcendent battle chi. It was impossible to reconnect them. What a fellow! His body has already become undying, and his strength is formidable as well. Dongbu Shuiying muttered to himself. From the start to the end, he did not even dare to receive a single blow from Demon Dabishi's battle axe. Even a peak saint rank transcendent would be at a disadvantage against him. Fortunately, my extreme piercing is extremely proficient in piercing through space, allowing me to maintain the initiative. Fortunately, I obtained the stellar fire cloud spear this time. Otherwise, I might not even be able to pierce through his scales. The surface of this demon's body was covered in a layer of fiery red light. It was the manifestation of the laws of profound mysteries. If he did not have the stellar fire cloud spear, he would not be able to pierce through it. Even with this demigod weapon, he was still unable to pierce through the demon's skull. One could see how strong his body was. Star. Chapter 182. In the distance. The demonic god Wu Yunhua was currently standing in midair, watching from afar. The shockwave created by the battle between Ying and the demon Da Bai Shi was simply too terrifying. How could he, who was merely at the limits of a mortal, withstand the shockwave from a battle between two peak stage saints? Hence he had long hidden far away. He could see the rumbling from afar. Clearly, the shockwaves from the battle between Dongbui Ying and demon Da Bai Shi had swept through the surroundings. The inner castle of the castle had been reduced to rubble. Half of the outer castle had collapsed, and the remaining areas were filled with cracks. I can't even see clearly. Demonic god Wu Yunhua anxiously wanted to know what was happening in the battle. However, he had no way of knowing the details of the battle. The battle between Dongbui Ying and demon Da Bai Shi was too fast. In less than half a breath's time, the battle had already stopped. There were no longer any terrifying shockwaves. Wu Yunhua could clearly see the scene in the distance. Amidst the rubble under the smoke and dust, demon Da Bai Shi's body had been torn apart. Dongbui Ying stood by the side. Countless fiery red strands of transcendent qi were completely suppressing every part of the demon's body. Defeated. Wu Yunhua couldn't believe it. Demon Da Bai Shi had actually lost to such a young saint, initial stage transcendent of the Xia people? At this moment he really didn't want to accept it. He didn't want to accept everything in front of him. But it was the truth. As someone who had climbed to a sufficiently high peak in the dark abyss, and was even able to spread his faith in the material world, the great demon god had no choice but to accept it no matter how unwilling he was. Dongbui Ying, as long as you help me once, I will give you 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. 50,000 kilograms. Wu Yunhua directly transmitted. His voice was strange and unfathomable as it rang in Dongbui Ying's mind. 50,000 kilograms? Dongbui Ying turned his head and saw demonic god Wu Yunhua in midair. He had suspected it previously, but now he was actually willing to take out 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. As an abyss demon, his subordinates in the Xia people's world were weak, so it was extremely difficult to prepare 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. If one were to transport 50,000 kilograms of origin stones through the temporal temple, the price would be extremely shocking. Hence, at this moment Dongbui Ying was certain, this main altar was definitely not an ordinary main altar. There must be something very important to demonic god Wu Yunhua. If you do not agree, I Wu Yunhua swear that my revenge will never stop. In 10,000 years, in a million years, even if it's your clan, I will completely destroy them. Demon god Wu Yunhua threatened Su Chan, as he offered the 50,000 kilograms of origin stones as a reward. He also knew that if he said 50,000 kilograms of origin stones, Dongbui Ying would definitely be able to guess that there was a big secret about this place. But even if he didn't report it, the Xia people would still carefully inspect the entire altar after they were defeated. They would still find out. So he made his final struggle. Threaten me? There are so many evil gods and devil gods. If we, the Xia people transcendents, would lower our heads just because they threatened us, the Xia people, how could we, the Xia people, survive until now? Dongbui Ying replied to the demonic god Wu Yunhua in his mind. You need to use your strength and even send some resources from the dark abyss to the Xia people's world. Just for revenge? How many times are you willing to pay such a huge price? There was no need to talk about anything else. Even if the price was relatively low, many evil gods and devil gods would not appear when their main altar was destroyed. For example, the last time Wu Yunhua appeared was 30,000 years ago. You don't agree? Demonic god Wu Yunhua was incomparably angry. Scram! Dongbui Ying roared in his mind, but he was unable to block demonic god Wu Yunhua's voice transmission. Clearly, demonic god Wu Yunhua's usage of profound mysteries was too profound. Damn it! Damn it! You really deserve to die. Just you wait, Dongbui Ying. I will definitely not let you off. Even if you die in the future, I will think of a way to capture your soul and bring it into the dark abyss. I will make you sink into the darkness forever and suffer endless suffering. There will be no end to it. Do you only know how to threaten? If you have the ability, show me something real. Let me see what tricks a demonic god like you has. Ying sneered. He casually waved his hand, causing the world energy in the distant sky to condense into a gigantic palm. This palm majestically pressed down on the demonic god Wu Yunhua in midair. Demonic god Wu Yunhua looked up at the huge palm and snorted coldly. Shua. His body instantly pierced through the void and disappeared. In terms of the profound mysteries of void traversing, he clearly surpassed any of the Xia people transcendents. Unfortunately, his strength was suppressed to the limits of mortals, causing his world projection to be of no threat to transcendence. The last communication between the two was through soul transmission. The speed was extremely fast. Demonic god Wu Yunhua clearly wanted to hurry up and finish the negotiations before the demigods of the Xia people arrived. Unfortunately, his struggles were all in vain. Sela, space was torn apart. A figure walked out. It was the eternal wind knight Qiu Qibai. Snow Eagle. Qiu Qibai swept his gaze around and discovered the situation within the castle ruins. He even discovered some of the corpses of the demonized emissaries. With a single step he arrived beside Dongbo Shueying. He looked at the demon Da Baishi's broken body, which had been suppressed by transcendent qi. Undying body? Qiu Qibai laughed. Snow Eagle, I didn't expect that you would meet a demon with an undying body on your first try. This demon should be at least a rank 4 demon. Rank 4 demons usually have the combat power of someone ranked 10th to 30th on the saint rankings. They are hard to deal with even amongst peak saints. I didn't expect that you, Snow Eagle, could actually kill a demon of this level. He knew that Dongbo Shueying had grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. In front of an expert ranked 10th to 30th on the saint rankings, it shouldn't be a problem for him to fight for his life, but to kill him would be much more difficult. I also estimate that he's a rank 4 demon. Dongbo Shueying nodded and laughed. He's very hard to deal with. His roar is enough to seriously injure most peak saints. The weaker ones might even be shaken to death. Alright, leave him to me. A living demon has its uses too. Qiu Qibai laughed. If it were a demigod demon, humans would not dare to keep it in captivity, because the moment a demigod demon broke through to the demonic god realm, it would be a disaster. Of course, the possibility of that happening was extremely low. A demigod demon breaking through to the demonic god realm was much harder than a human breaking through. Although the probability was much lower, the Xia people still did not dare to take the risk. As for rank 4 and 5 demons, keeping them in captivity was a small matter. At the very most, they could just wait until he broke through to the demigod realm before killing him. I've already reported this to the Infernal Palace, Qiu Qibai said. Every time they fought with a demon, the situation would be reported to the Infernal Palace. Based on the situation of the battle, transcendents could obtain rewards. 10,000 contribution points? Dongbo Shueying laughed. He had already received a message from the Infernal Palace through his communication wristband. His contribution points had increased by 10,000. The rewards for hunting down demons are really high. A rank 5 demon is the highest. Even demigods are hunting down rank 5 demons. As for a demigod demon, all of them are extremely cunning. It's hard to find them. Qiu Qibai shook his head and sighed. At the same time, he took out a metal chain with a wave of his hand. With a shake of the metal chain, it flew towards the demon Da Baishi and tied him up. Oh right, brother Eternal Wind. There's something I haven't mentioned. Dongbo Shueying said. It's about a demonic god called Wu Yunhua. Oh. Qiu Qibai listened by the side. Dongbo Shueying briefly explained. Humph, these demonic gods from the abyss still dare to threaten the transcendence of the Xia people? Qiu Qibai snorted coldly and frowned. According to what you said, this demonic god main altar should have something very important to this demonic god. Congratulations, it seems like you've struck it big this time. Qiu Qibai laughed. With Dongbo Shueying's current status, even the clan protection treasure of the Xia people was given to Dongbo Shueying by the Infernal Palace to protect him. This was a treatment that even demigods did not have. No one would dare to snatch Dongbo Shueying's spoils of war. Furthermore, Qiu Qibai was an extremely prideful person. He disdained to do such a thing. I feel that this demonic god Wu Yunhua might not give up. Brother Eternal Wind, please look after him from the side. Dongbo Shueying said. Feel free to search for him. I'll watch from the side, Qiu Qibai said. Dongbu Shuang nodded his head. Following which, he controlled the majestic heaven and earth energy and forcefully grabbed onto countless rocks. The binding force reached an extremely terrifying level. In an instant, countless rocks in the castle ruins flew up. Even some of the stone slabs and stone pillars that were still intact started to float up. The entire castle was dug 3 feet into the ground. All the items were floating high up in the air. Chapter 183. Dongbu Shuang and Qi Qiubai stood in midair. The entire castle ruins was extremely heavy. If Dongbu Shuang were to rely on his own strength to lift it, he would not be able to do so. But controlling the heaven and earth energy, Dongbu Shuang was able to lift all the items easily. Big Brother Eternal Wind, I feel that the items in the castle ruins are very ordinary. Did you discover anything? Dongbu Shuang observed carefully. He used the heaven and earth energy to inspect every single item that was bound. I didn't discover anything. Qi Qiubai shook his head doubtfully. South Dongbu Shuang willed. Instantly, countless items flew to the side and landed on a large piece of barren land. Those broken stones, stone pillars and stone slabs were all piled up together, forming a small hill. The remains of the corpses were also piled up together. There were also some papers, books, plates and other items piled up together. Separate them? You've made it much easier for the Dragon Mountain Manor to search. Qi Qiubai laughed. It's nothing much. I'll dig out all the secret rooms and the like. There are still formation tools under them. Dongbu Shuang said. This time he used the heaven and earth energy to dig even deeper. All the places that had traces of human activity were all dug out by Dongbu Shuang. The array that was used to deal with Dongbu Shuang was also dug out. Countless items flew up. Dongbu Shuang kept all the precious items. The rest of the items still flew up and landed on the barren land far away. That Wu Yunhua said that he was willing to give me 50,000 gene of origin stones. The value of this treasure should not be lower than that. Dongbu Shuang said. We still haven't found it. It's hidden quite well. I'm afraid that there are some concealment arrays. I'm afraid that it will take some time to find it. I also think that there are concealment arrays, Qi Qiubai said. There were many different kinds of arrays. Killing formation, bewildering formation, imprisonment formation, concealment formation. All sorts of functions were possible to prevent the world energy from detecting them. You're willing to use a formation to conceal it. TSK, it is indeed a valuable treasure. Qiu Qibai laughed. Come, let's follow the old method. First, use brute force to sweep through. All right. With a single thought from Dongbu Shuang, the massive heaven and earth energy began to dig up all the soil and rocks in the surroundings. Nothing was spared. Countless soil and rocks flew up and piled up in another area of the wasteland in the distance. Immediately, the soil and rocks there quickly piled up. As the castle continued to sink, the mountain of dirt in the distance grew taller and taller. Moments later, the place where the majestic castle used to be was now a huge pit that was 300 meters deep. I've swept through the entire area, but I still haven't found it. Qi Qiubai smiled and said, furthermore, when we stared at it with our eyes, we didn't see anything special. Seems like it also distorted the light. The naked eye can see things by relying on light. If he could control light, he would be able to become invisible. Clearly, this formation also had a concealment effect. It's better for me to work harder and personally search through the area, Dongbu Shuang said as he charged downwards. So Dongbu Shuang's speed soared. He flew around the 300 meters deep pit at high speed, using his body to touch anything. Using one's body to touch the formation was the simplest and hardest method to break through. What if it was a bewildering formation? The moment one got lost, they would immediately understand that they had fallen into a formation. For example, some concealment formations could prevent the naked eye from seeing them and the heaven and earth energy from sensing them. But when one's body collided, it was too difficult to prevent one's body from touching the formation. Pung! He transformed into a large number of afterimages as he flew. Finally, with a pung, he collided with a certain place. It's here! Dongbu Shuang smiled. And here I thought it would be very powerful. I thought that it would be able to distort space so that I wouldn't be able to sense it even if I flew past it. colliding with it with his body. It was too difficult to prevent outsiders from touching the array formation. Bewildering formations could prevent others from touching it, but they would be able to sense it immediately. To not be able to touch it and not be able to sense it, one would need to completely conceal the space where the formation was located. This required perfect control of space and continuous control at that. Human demigods were unable to create such a formation. Just like in the Infernal Palace, with the help of the Infernal Palace, they were able to achieve such a feat, but a demonic god sending resources into the Xia people's world was already incomparably difficult. To send a deity equipment like the Infernal Palace? The price was too high. It was not worth it just for a little bit of faith. Only the ancestors of the Xia people, who were filled with boundless affection for the Xia people, were willing to pay such a huge price to send the deity equipment back to their homeland. Thus, the foundation of the Xia people, the powerful clan protection treasures, deity world weapons, and even deity equipment. Many of them contained the feelings of the ancestors of the Xia people towards their homeland. Distorting space for a long time? Even the demonic god guild would be reluctant to use such a formation. Qiu Qibai flew over and extended his hand to touch the formation. Obstruct! Qiu Qibai sneered. His right hand was covered with a layer of transcendent qi. Beyond that was the true meaning of space cleavage. He had cultivated for many years, so his true meaning of space cleavage was naturally more profound. He casually grabbed. His fingers were incomparably sharp. With a rip, he directly tore through the formation's obstruction. Actually, the formation's obstruction was not that strong. Dongbu Shuiying could forcefully break through it. The formation was broken. A real scene appeared in front of him. In the area in front of him there was a rather ugly and huge bath. The bath was only 10 meters wide and was completely black. At the edge of the bath was a huge statue of a demon's head. The eyes of the demon's head were red, and its mouth was wide open. An evil aura was faintly emitted from its mouth. The bath was completely fixed to the ground, or rather, it was fixed to the space of this world. There were countless tentacles around the bath, and these tentacles were connected to space. As the space of the Xia people's world fluctuated, the tentacles also rippled. At this moment, there were 25 humans hurriedly disconnecting the tentacles from the demon bath. Beside them, a black-robed, red-skinned, gray-horned demonic god Wu Yunhua was anxiously taking the initiative to disconnect the tentacles. But every tentacle was completely connected to the space of the world. It was constantly rippling, and the rippling power made it extremely difficult to disconnect. Damn it! Demonic god Wu Yunhua turned to look at the black-robed youth and the white-haired man who had charged in. Just you wait, Dongbu Shuiying. Wu Yunhua growled. His figure distorted and disappeared. He escaped really quickly. His spatial transference is really impressive. Qiu Qibai praised. Dongbu Shuiying looked curiously at the huge demon bath in front of him. As for the 25 star knights, they had all been restrained and suppressed to the side. What is this? Dongbu Shuiying was a little confused. He felt that the demon bath in front of him gave him an extremely evil feeling. This bath seems to be one with our Xia people's world. Its use of space is very strange. Qiu Qibai shook his head. I don't recognize what it is either. Although Qiu Qibai was a demigod, he had only cultivated for 300 years. He had just become a demigod not long ago. Clearly he did not know much. Should we look for Vice Faction Head Chao? Qiu Qibai asked. All right. Dongbu Shuiying agreed. Vice Faction Head Chao Qing was the oldest demigod of the Xia people. He would probably be able to recognize the origins of this thing. In another place, in the depths of a volcano, there was a strange warship hidden here. This warship was something that demon generals often rode on when they were out on expeditions. It was also able to isolate the senses of heaven and earth energy, and other basic detection methods. Inside the warship, within a cold hall, a crystal ball floated in the air. On top of the crystal ball, an image appeared. It was the image of a black-robed youth stabbing out furiously with his spear. Dabaishi is dead. He died at the hands of a transcendent of the Xia people called Dongbu Shuiying. A demon wearing purple armor stood there. He didn't have any hair on his body, only scales. The beauty of his armor seemed to blend with the scales on his body. His eyes shone with golden light as he stared coldly at the image on top of the crystal ball. This was a rather skinny demon. He was about 1.6 meters tall, but the aura he emitted was filled with boundless blood. It caused the hearts of the 3 rank 5 demons who were respectfully serving him to tremble. When they were in the dark abyss, they were the subordinates of the general serving a demonic god. They had fought everywhere, and the general's terrifying evilness had long since caused them to fear him. "Pass down my orders," the skinny purple-armored demon said calmly. "All demons under me, rank 5 and below, are not to fight Dongbuo if they encounter him. Hide if you can. If you can't hide, flee with all your might." Yes. The 3 subordinates respectfully acknowledged the order. They were absolutely loyal to the general. Suddenly the crystal ball rippled. A new image appeared on top. It was the demonic god Wu Yunhua. "Oh, if it isn't the demonic god Wu Yunhua?" The skinny purple-armored demon smiled. Chapter 184. General Yanzai. Demonic god Wu Yunhua spoke. He did not dare to underestimate this demigod-level abyssal at all. Even in the dark abyss, the demon god General Yanzai was loyal to was in a different layer of the abyss from him, and they were of completely different factions. Thus, in the dark abyss, General Yanzai was not afraid of demonic god Wu Yunhua at all, much less now that he was in the Xia people's world. In the Xia people's world, these demon generals stood at the peak of power. All the demigods of the Xia people had to rely on their deity weapons to kill them. Thus, Wu Yunhua had to be polite and did not dare to offend them. After all, this General Yanzai led a large group of demons that had almost completely infiltrated the 5 northern provinces. This time, his forces had been greatly weakened. If General Yanzai gave another order, then in the future, it would be even harder for Wu Yunhua to spread his faith. He might even be completely destroyed. General Yanzai being able to enter the material world is worth celebrating. Demonic god Wu Yunhua smiled. "I won't be long-winded. I'm looking for General Yanzai because a treasure of mine has fallen into the hands of Dongbuo Ying." "Dongbuo Ying?" General Yanzai smiled. "Your treasure has fallen into the hands of a human transcendent. Why are you looking for a demon like me?" "Right now, he has a demigod of the Xia people by his side. His name is Eternal Wind Knight Shou Qi Bai." Demonic god Wu Yunhua said. "I wonder if General Yanzai has the guts to take the treasure from them?" With General Yanzai's strength, killing Dongbuo Ying and suppressing Shou Qi Bai is as easy as lifting a finger. Even the number 1 demigod of the Xia people, Mountain Lord He, is weaker than you. "Thank you for your praise, demonic god. I really like what you said. If the Xia people's demigods did not have deity weapons, I alone could wipe out 10 of them. Unfortunately, their strongest demigods all wield deity weapons. I've seen Xia people's Mountain Lord He use his full strength. It is indeed very shocking. If I were to fight him one-on-one, I would not have any advantage." General Yanzai smiled. "I can suppress Shou Qi Bai, but I need time to kill him. Furthermore, the demigods of the Xia people will soon arrive with their divine weapons." General Yanzai had yet to exchange blows with the Xia people. However, he had secretly spied on the abilities of the demigods of the Xia people, and had a clear judgment. If Lord Demonic God were to give me a divine artifact, I might be willing to take the risk. General Yanzai looked at Demonic God Wu Yunhua. "Haha, a divine artifact? In the dark abyss, I don't care about giving away a divine tool. But the world of the Xia people? I can't afford it. The entire Terrene Shrine and Bloodshed Tavern only have 1 or 2 divine equipment each." The demonic god Wu Yunhua shook his head, sending a divine artifact to the mortal world. The price was too high. The Temple of the Earth God, the Bloodshed Tavern, and the demonic faction all had powerful backers behind them. But each of them only had 1 or 2 divine artifacts. This was because of the great existences behind them. For example, the Bloodshed Tavern. There were countless mortal worlds that had similar Bloodshed Tavern. Every mortal world would give them 1 or 2 deity items, and the accumulation of countless worlds would be terrifying. Thus, they needed to consider whether the investment was worth it. In other words, the ancestors of the Xia people. The ancestors of the Xia people might not be able to compare with the existences behind the Temple of the Earth God and the demonic faction. But they really didn't ask for anything in return. They were willing to sacrifice for their homeland. Generation after generation, the Xia people accumulated deity items. Only then were they able to accumulate a few powerful deity items. Then why are you looking for me? General Yanzai's face turned cold. Why? Do you think I'll be stupid enough to help you without any benefits? No. You're not helping me. You're helping yourself. The demonic god Wu Yunhua said. From what I know, you demon generals have already discussed in secret and confirmed the territories that you each occupy. The 5 provinces in the north are your territories, General Yanzai. Yes. Yanzai nodded. The 5 provinces controlled by the Water Taoist faction were also the areas that the demon generals had discussed in secret and decided to be under Yanzai's control. Large groups of demons listened to Yanzai's orders. Of course, there were also 20 to 30% of the demons who no longer listened to orders after entering the mortal world. But most of these demons were killed by the Xia people in their madness. Only a few of them were smart enough to hide. But most of them still listened to orders. After all, only by relying on each other would they be able to survive in the Xia people's world. And one day, they would completely occupy this mortal world. Your main opponent is the Water Taoist faction. The demonic god Wu Yunhua said. The Water Taoist faction currently has 3 demigods. Si Kongyang, Chao Qing, and Qiu Qi Bai. Si Kongyang and Chao Qing have both reached the peak of demigod a long time ago. It's hard for them to improve any further. But Qiu Qi Bai has just become a demigod and has grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. In a few hundred years, he will definitely surpass Mountain Lord He. When that time comes, he will be your greatest enemy. Actually, I feel that the biggest threat to you is this Dongbu Shuiying. He's not even 60 years old yet. His cultivation time is too short. His current strength is probably enough for him to enter the top 10 of the saint rankings among the Xia people. The demonic god Wu Yunhua said. His potential is even higher than Qiu Qi Bai's. Maybe in another 300 to 500 years, he will become the strongest existence among the Xia people. He will be your greatest enemy. If you die in the Xia people's world, you might die at his hands. Are you trying to sow discord? General Yanzai coldly asked. I'm not trying to sow discord. The demonic god Wu Yunhua said. The time you spent in the Xia people's world is too short. You have too little understanding of the Xia people in Dongbu Shuiying. Even if I don't tell you, if you wait a little longer, you will truly understand the transcendence of the Xia people's world. You will also understand how great the threat of Dongbu Shuiying's potential is. Don't tell me you want to be destroyed after 1,000 years in the human world? With your ambition, you will definitely want to devour countless human souls and raise them in captivity, providing an endless supply of souls, and even break through to the demonic god level, right? General Yanzai coldly snorted, of course. Raising countless humans in captivity, allowing them to reproduce. Then he, General Yanzai, would carry out round after round of harvesting, devouring countless human souls. General Yanzai believed that his chances of becoming a demonic god would increase tenfold. I've said everything I need to say. The demonic god Wu Yunhua's face suddenly darkened. Damn it! He had been secretly monitoring Dongbu Shuiying and Qiu Qi Bai from afar. But now the demigod of the Xia people, the old man Chao Qing, was there as well. As a demon general leading an army in battle, you should be very clear how to deal with a potential threat that can destroy you. The demonic god Wu Yunhua smiled. With a whoosh, the image on the crystal ball disappeared. Clearly, the demonic god Wu Yunhua had cut off contact. In the cold hall of the battleship, General Yanzai's back was facing his subordinates, silently looking at the crystal ball. Dongbu Shuiying? General Yanzai muttered. Previously, he only thought that with Dongbu Shuiying's strength, demons below the 5th level could not be defeated. But he really did not realize the threat of Dongbu Shuiying. After all, his attention was focused on the demigods of the Xia people. He had been studying every single demigod of the Xia people, thinking of ways to kill these demigods of the Xia people. Since demons had come to the mortal world, their purpose was to kill and conquer. They did not want to hide all the time. Pass down my orders. Find Dongbu Shuiying, General Yanzai said. The original location of the castle was within a huge pit. Dongbu Shuiying and Qiu Qi Bai were curiously observing the demonic bath in front of them, which was emitting an evil aura. The countless tentacles of the bath were connected to the space of the Xia people's world. They had not moved them yet. Whoosh! The space was torn apart. A thin old man wearing slippers stepped on the void as he leisurely walked over. He was grinning at the distant Shui Ying and Qiu Qi Bai. Seeing the young transcendents, old man Chao Qing was very happy. This was the continuation of the race. You two little fellows, what treasure did you find that you need me to identify? Old man Chao Qing smiled as he walked over. At the same time, his gaze landed on the demonic bath. The moment he saw it, his eyes widened. You found this thing? Who was so lucky? Chapter 185. It's Snow Eagle. He was lucky enough to discover a demonic god's main altar. He even took the opportunity to kill a rank 4 demon. Finally, he found this demonic bath. Chi Bai laughed. I'm envious of him. This isn't some kind of bath. Old man Chao Qing grinned. A few of his teeth had fallen out. It was obvious that as he neared the end of his lifespan, he was also getting older. However, one could not underestimate him because of his age. His transcendent Do Qi would not weaken because of his age. His cultivation level would only increase. Vicehead, what exactly is this? Dongbo Shuiying was also very curious. Old man Chao Qing sat his butt on the side of the bath. He even touched it. Did that demonic god send down a projection? Is he trying his best to protect this treasure? Yes. Actually, I didn't even notice that demon at the start. It was that demon who ambushed me. That demonic god also used benefits to tempt me. At the same time, he used all sorts of threats. Dongbo Shuiying said. Of course he tried his best to protect it. Old man Chao Qing said. Without this thing, this demonic god, the difficulty of spreading his faith in our Xia people's world will soar by 100 or even 1,000 times. I'm afraid that within a few hundred years, his faith in our Xia people's world will shrink by more than 90%. Aha! Dongbo Shuiying and Chi Bai were both shocked. Could it be? Dongbo Shuiying and Chi Bai both had their guesses. Yes, it is the legendary Devil's Well. Old man Chao Qing said. This demonic god Wu Yunhua had his Devil's Well discovered by you. No wonder he went crazy. Chi Bai laughed. He was really unlucky. The altar you discovered just so happened to have this Devil's Well. Divine wells and Devil's Wells were extremely important to demonic gods. Most of the demonic gods that spread their faith in the Xia people did not manage to build their own Devil's Well. However, the moment they did, their power would continuously expand. Amongst the demonic gods that the Xia people spread their faith to, they would probably be ranked in the top 10. What exactly was a Devil's Well? More accurately, it was a passage. It allowed the gods to send their own divine power to the mortal world as little as possible. Normally, the wells created by the gods were called divine wells. As for the demonic god, he built the demonic well. Because they were separated by such a great distance and there were countless spatial obstructions, it was extremely difficult to transmit divine power. Just by looking at the difficulty of descending a world projection, one could understand. And once the divine well was established, the loss of divine and fiend celestial powers would be greatly reduced. It was something the evil gods and fiend celestial could tolerate. Divine power and demonic god power had all kinds of wonders. For example, the demonic god power could easily demonize mortals. This was the origin of the so-called demonification emissary. At the same time, it could also strengthen one's body, greatly improve one's cultivation, and even allow one to quickly recover from serious injuries. In short, many of the fiend celestial's techniques needed to be executed through divine power and fiend celestial power. For example, pseudo-transcendent. The Terrene Shrine had used the divine powers in the divine well to cleanse their bodies, allowing their bodies to become extraordinary. In short, with the divine well and demonic well, many miracles could be created. Only then could countless humans, even star rankers and legend rankers, be willing to submit to them. Furthermore, with the demonification emissary and other techniques, their own forces would be strong enough. Those fiend celestial forces without the divine well and demonic well could not be compared. The demonic well had to be refined by the demonic god himself. Old man Chao Qing shook his head and sighed, how pitiful. After refining it, he had to pay a price that was 10 to 100 times the price of the demonic well itself before he could send it into the Xia people's world. This was the foundation of his faith. This time you have destroyed his lifeblood. Just thinking about it makes him go crazy. These weaker fiend celestials are not like the Terrene Shrine or the Bloodshed Tavern, who could spread their faith in countless worlds. It is already not bad for them to be able to establish a foundation in a mortal world. Chao Qing shook his head. Maybe after living for so many years, he only had a demonic well in a few mortal worlds. It might even be possible that this mortal world has a demonic well. Do you think it was easy for him to obtain faith? You destroyed it in an instant. Dongbu Shuiying and Qiu Qibai laughed. Qiu Qibai hurriedly said, Vice Head Chao, let's not talk about this. Take a look, how much is it worth? How many contribution points can the Infernal Palace give? Why are you in such a hurry? Isn't this Dongbu Shuiying's? Old man Chao Qing stared. Snow Eagle is my good brother. I am happy for him. Can't I? Qiu Qibai retorted. Chao Qing glanced at Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying was filled with excitement and anticipation. Contribution points were good stuff. Cultivation required contribution points for all external resources. The higher one's strength, the more contribution points he would need in the future. This demonic well, compared to the few that our Xia people have obtained in the past, is considered average. Based on this, it should be worth 300,000 contribution points. Old man Chao Qing said, this toy is actually very precious to the demonic gods, but to us transcendents of the Xia clan, we can just dismantle it and use the rare materials. The contribution points given by the Infernal Palace are calculated according to the materials used. Understood. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. This demonic well was refined by the demonic god Wu Yunhua into the mortal world. Only he could use it. As for the transcendents of the Xia people, they were not even deities. They could only dismantle the materials and use them. Even so, the Infernal Palace still gave 300,000 contribution points. 300,000 contribution points? Shuiying was startled. A horse would not get fat if it was not fed at night. His own combat power had risen rapidly, and he had only obtained 100,000 contribution points after passing through the 100 Battles Chamber. But this was the foundation of a demonic god for countless years, allowing him to obtain 300,000 contribution points in one go. This was very normal. The reward from the 100 Battles Chamber was a form of nurturing by the Xia people. It was purely a gift. As for giving the demonic well to the Xia people, it was a fair trade. Wait, the price I mentioned is not valid. I will get the Palace Lord Chun to come over. Old man Chao Qing said. The original body of the Palace Lord Chun would always be in charge of the infernal realm. The one who tore through space and rushed over was the Battle Chi clone of the Palace Lord Chun. He checked carefully and understood the situation. Then, he congratulated Dongbu Shuiying and offered 300,000 contribution points. Actually, there were many examples of giving treasures to the Xia people in exchange for contribution points. Even the Palace Lord Chun could not casually give it away. The order of the Xia people could not be disrupted. Snow Eagle. Old man Chao Qing instructed before leaving. That demonic god's foundation was destroyed by you. He must be furious. Even though his strength is not worth mentioning, you still have to be careful. I understand. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. His parents and family were all in the Snow Eagle territory. His brother had not gone to the Eternal Wind Academy yet. There was nothing to be afraid of. When his brother wanted to go to the Eternal Wind Academy, he would just personally escort him. Moreover, every time the demonic god's projection stayed in the mortal world, it would consume a large amount of divine power. He could not stay for too long. Within a day, demon god Wu Yunhua's world projection would definitely disappear. As for descending again, the projection was the limit of a mortal. There was not much meaning in descending. Moreover, the demonic god had to consider whether it was worth it. No gains at all? Paying the price? Not many demonic gods would be that stupid. Very quickly, a few star-rank experts from the Dragon Mountain Manor rushed over. This was the demonic god's main altar. Even though it had been completely destroyed, they still had to check carefully. Chao Qing, Qi Qiubai and the rest also left. Let's go. Seeing the people from the Dragon Mountain Manor starting to check the large amount of mortal items, there were actually a large amount of gold coins and even storage treasures. Clearly, both Dongbo Shuiying and Chiqiu disdained to take those mortal items. After all, the Dongbo clan and the Eternal Wind clan were transcendent clans. They had a lot of treasures. Dongbo Shuiying instantly soared into the sky. At the same time, he manipulated the power of heaven and earth within 100 li. With a loud explosion, the clouds within 100 li exploded. Countless shockwaves spread out in all directions. Demonic god Wu Yunhua, who had been secretly observing from afar, suddenly had a flash in his eyes. He could clearly see Dongbo Shuiying in the distance. Suddenly his expression changed. He could only see the shockwave in the region of 50 kilometers in midair. He could no longer see clearly. By the time the shockwave stopped, Wu Yunhua could no longer find Shuiying. Chapter 186. Dongbo Shuiying. The demonic god Wu Yunhua muttered, his voice filled with killing intent. What did it mean to break through with force? At this moment the demonic god Wu Yunhua felt sullen. Although he was much stronger than any Xia people in this mortal world in terms of the laws of profound mysteries, the will of the mortal world had suppressed his strength to the mortal limit. As for Dongbo Shuiying, his strength was at the peak of the transcendent saint realm. The difference between the two was too big. He was like an ant flexing its muscles in front of a giant. Dongbo Shuiying only needed to control the explosion of the power of heaven and earth within 100 miles to turn that area into a dangerous place for him. The demonic god Wu Yunhua's strength and the laws of profound mysteries did not dare to penetrate that area. Once it did, it would be easily torn apart and annihilated. I have been working in this Xia people's world for countless years. I worked so hard to send the devil's well here, but now it has all been destroyed by you. If we were in the dark abyss, I would definitely let you suffer 3,000 soul tortures. Just wait. I can't kill you, but that General Yanzhe will definitely kill you. He had lived in the dark abyss for too long, and was very clear about the survival rules of the demons. Although he had only interacted with General Yanzhe a few times, he had long understood General Yanzhe's character. He was very sure that after General Yanzhe understood the terrifying potential of Dongbo Shuiying, he would definitely not allow him to grow. Once he found an opportunity, he would immediately kill him. Who? The demonic god Wu Yunhua moved his body and disappeared in midair. Azure River County, Snow Eagle Territory. In the wilderness below the mountain, the fragrance of flowers permeated the air. The demonic god Wu Yunhua with his black robe, dark red skin, and gray horns appeared in this wilderness. At the same time, he raised his head and looked at the mountains in the distance. He stared at the most conspicuous and tallest mountain, Snowrock Mountain. At the peak of Snowrock Mountain, there was an ordinary-looking castle. There was even some snow on top of the castle. Dongbo Shuiying, this is your home, Snowrock Castle? The demonic god Wu Yunhua smirked. I said before, you will regret it. I will destroy your castle first. Whoosh! He took a step. In an instant, he traversed dozens of miles and appeared above Snowrock Castle. What is this? Demonic god Wu Yunhua was shocked. He could feel a boundless energy filling up the space around him. The several kilometers around Snowrock Castle was like a terrifying nightmare. Once the boundless energy was unleashed, even a peak demigod would be trapped for a long time. However, demonic god Wu Yunhua was too weak to break free from this power. Black cloud fire. Suddenly, a red-robed figure walked out of the main building of Snowrock Castle. With a single step he stepped into the air. A red-robed, black-haired youth. A fiery red light flickered on his skin. His eyes were filled with rage and killing intent. It was Dongbo Shuiying's chi clone. Dongbo Shuiying. The demonic god Wu Yunhua was completely fixed in midair by the boundless power. He could neither struggle nor escape. He also saw the red-robed youth below. How dare you come here? Dongbo Shuiying was truly enraged. Previously, he had always been very relaxed when facing the demonic god Wu Yunhua. However, at this moment his chest was filled with rage. Snowrock Castle. This was his own home. This was the place where his most important family members lived. For them he would do anything. This damned Wu Yunhua. To think that he would be so persistent. Haha, haha. I didn't expect your Snowrock Castle to have such a terrifying formation. But it's useless. You disobeyed me and destroyed my hard work. You and your family, I will take revenge. Just you wait, my revenge will never stop. Demonic god Wu Yunhua laughed maniacally. Die. Dongbu Shuiying's eyes flashed coldly. Boom! The heaven and earth energy in the sky formed two gigantic palms. Each of the palms spanned several kilometers. At this moment, the two gigantic palms suddenly slammed into each other. The center of the two palms was the demonic god Wu Yunhua. The demonic god Wu Yunhua still looked at Dongbu Shuiying and laughed maniacally. Just you wait, just you wait. Bang! In the instant before the two palms collided, the demonic god Wu Yunhua's projection dissipated. His original body in the distant dark abyss had given up on maintaining this projection. Maintaining a projection consumed a large amount of energy. He had originally planned to give up on this projection after taking revenge on Snow Rock Castle. Now that he had failed, he wouldn't be so stupid as to experience the feeling of being slapped. Rumble. The two palms collided in midair, creating a shockwave that spread out in all directions. Dongbu Shuiying controlled the heaven and earth energy to block the shockwave. What's going on? This, heavens. That's, the guards on the outer walls of Snow Rock Castle, as well as the servants walking within the castle, all saw the scene in the sky. They saw the ugly black-robed demon in the sky. They also saw the two gigantic palms that spanned several kilometers collide, causing the black-robed demon to dissipate. This scene was too shocking. The two gigantic palms in the sky. Either one of them was larger than Snow Rock Castle. How could the servants and guards not sigh in amazement when they saw this? They also saw the red-robed, black-haired youth standing in midair next to the main building of Snow Rock Castle. They knew that this was the pride of Snow Rock Castle, the legendary Dongbu Shuiying. He instantly understood the huge difference in strength between them. The purple-armored thin fiend gave him a sense of threat that exceeded any other Xia people or demigod he had ever encountered. Chapter 187. Demon General Yanzhe stood at the side of the field, looking at the Snow Rock Castle from afar. From what he could sense between heaven and earth, there were countless particles. Everything in the world was vaguely composed of particles. The fast-flying light was also made up of particles. The drifting wind was made up of another type of particles. The distant Snow Rock Mountain was also made up of countless particles. Snow Rock Castle. From what General Yanzhe could sense, every part of Snow Rock Castle was filled with countless particles, transmitting different information. There are 1,899 humans. Warning formation: once you enter you will be discovered. Killing formation, trapping formation and confusion formation are all combined. Its power is extraordinary. Any demon general that enters would be trapped for a long time. General Yanzhe nodded. Looks like it is impossible to enter Snow Rock Castle and kill Dongbu Shuiying's main body. This time he was only here to find out the truth. Dongbu Shuiying's main body was roaming everywhere, looking for traces of demons. But in reality, finding Dongbu Shuiying's main body was an extremely difficult task, because Dongbu Shuiying could change his appearance, and the demons were all trying to hide their auras, afraid of being discovered. Under such circumstances, to find Dongbu Shuiying's main body was extremely difficult. But there was one thing. Dongbu Shuiying's main body would definitely return to Snow Rock Castle, and when he returned, he could kill him. What a pity I cannot enter his Snow Rock Castle. The risk is too great. General Yanzhe gave up on this plan. I need to be patient and slowly look for an opportunity to kill him. He took a step forward. Shua. He disappeared without a trace, directly passing through the void and leaving. General Yanzhe was very cautious. This time, he had only sent a magic avatar to scout the situation. Human saints were able to use chi doppelgangers. These powerful demons would naturally be able to use demonic energy to form doppelgangers. But in the world of Xia people, demons rarely did so, because they all tried their best to hide their strength, restraining all fluctuations. And the demonic doppelganger was formed from demonic energy. There was no way to restrain it. No matter where it appeared, it would be easily discovered by the extraordinary power of the heavens and the earth. Once the mana avatar was destroyed, its soul would also be damaged. Therefore, if there was no need, the demons would not use magic clones. Even General Yanzhe had sent his magic avatar to Snow Rock Castle in order to investigate the situation, and then quickly left. They wouldn't walk around casually or stay in one place for long periods of time. He left? Just as Dongbu Shuiying reported to the Infernal Palace, the purple-scaled skinny little demon had already disappeared through the void. He has already left. Dongbu Shuiying immediately reported to the Infernal Palace. Soon, Palace Lord Chun informed Dongbu Shuiying, Snow Eagle, the demigod-level demon you mentioned should be a terrifying existence called Yenza that we know of. His strength was unfathomable. Up until now, he has never fought with us. He is very cautious. We know very little about him. All we know is that almost all of the demons behind the 5 northern provinces listen to his orders. Oh, Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. All 5 northern provinces. Yes, he can be said to be the king of the demons in the 5 northern provinces, the true supreme leader. Palace Lord Chun said, he is also your Water Taoist faction's biggest enemy in the future. We know too little about him, so we are currently gathering more detailed information. In short, do not fight with him, try your best to avoid him. Understood. Dongbu Shuiying replied. Just now, he had a simple interaction with General Yan Zhe. From the sensing of the heavens and the earth, the evil and terrifying aura that was recklessly emitted was not normal. Because for normal experts, even if they did not deliberately restrain their aura, it would not be so violent. Either he deliberately released his demonic aura, or he was very cautious and only sent a demonic doppelganger over. That feeling. Dongbu Shuiying frowned. It was very uncomfortable. It was as if everything about him had been seen through by the demigod demon, Yan Zhe. This feeling of being seen through caused Dongbu Shuiying to be extremely vigilant. At his level, what he felt was definitely not fake. There must be a reason for it. It should be some kind of power that was spying on him. Unfortunately, his level was too low, and he could not resist it at all. I heard that demigod demons can even fight against the top demigods of the Xia people when they wield a divine weapon. Dongbu Shuiying sighed. In the end, there is still a gap between us Xia people's transcendence. Demons were mostly born naturally in the dark abyss. Very few were born from demons. They were even more talented than the primordial beings of the mortal world. Most Tier 5 demons possessed immortal bodies, not to mention demigod-ranked demons. Every single one of their bodies was tyrannical, and their demonic energy was even more tyrannical than transcendent Do Qi. It could be said that, in terms of basic talent, they completely suppressed the Xia people. Furthermore, the number of demons in the dark abyss was uncountable. How intense would the battles be? Their battle experience and the profound techniques they comprehended were more inclined towards close combat. In comparison, the Xia people's transcendence were much more peaceful, and their close combat was also much weaker. Next, my Water Taoist faction's greatest enemy? Dongbu Shuiying's eyes flashed. General Yan Zhe. The highest leader of the demons in the 5 northern provinces, General Yan Zhe, appeared at Snowrock Castle and then disappeared without a trace. Although Si Kongyang, Chao Qing and Qi Qiubai were all searching for him, they could not find him. Dongbu Shuiying's main body continued to search for traces of the demons in the Tranquil Sun province. This time he was heading towards the north. Previously, he had failed to keep watch at Water Rights Town and other places, so he gave up. Walking in the mountain village. Walking on the official road. Walking in the city. Everywhere he went, Dongbu Shuiying maintained his heaven and earth energy to scan the area within 100 li. However, all the demons in the Tranquil Sun province seemed to have disappeared, and there were no traces of them at all. Dongbu Shuiying even tried to help the weak and wanted to lure out a big fish like last time. Last time he killed a grade 4 demon and obtained a demon well, in exchange for 300,000 contribution points. Unfortunately, not to mention the demons, he didn't even find a single evil god or demon god main altar. On the other hand, many of the nobles and bandits who caused trouble in the region were killed. The cold wind blew. The further north he went, the colder it got. The land became more and more sparsely populated. One couldn't see the end of the snow plains, and within tens of hundreds of miles, one could only see a small village. Commoners drove their sleds and traveled, and it was tough for them to survive in this cold land. They could barely survive here. Further north was the true northern snow plains, which spanned hundreds of thousands of miles. It was a forbidden area for mortals. The entire land is white, so clean. Dongbu Shuang walked on the snow, leaving a long trail of footprints. During these few months, because he purposely helped the weak, he saw too much evil and his mood was affected. Now that he came to the north of the tranquil Sun province and walked on the desolate snow plains, his heart calmed down, and his soul seemed to have been cleansed. Heaven and earth is indeed boundless. Dongbu Shuang stood on the peak of a snow mountain and looked out. The land was white, and occasionally there were some frozen lakes and trees. It was indeed really vast. Dongbu Shuang sat cross-legged on the peak. He took out a flask of wine and drank as he looked at the scenery. He felt that the view from the snow mountain was a form of enjoyment. It was endless. His eyesight was already shocking, but he still couldn't see the end of the snow plains. The land is vast and can carry everything. Dongbu Shuang muttered to himself. Something in his mind seemed to have been touched. Earth? Dongbu Shuang's eyes were a little lost. His heart was totally one with the land and sky. The power of everything in the world surged. The agile wind, the surging flames, the gentle and indiscernible water. As for the land, it was formed from the thick power of the earth. It was boundless and carried everything. Chapter 189. This is too beautiful. Dongbu Shuang had walked on the road countless of times since he was young, but he had never felt so intoxicated by the earth before. It was vast and boundless. It was like his parents' chest. It was like the foundation of the entire world. Grass and trees grew, the fragrance of flowers filled the garden, birds soared, streams flowed. All of these were embellishments to the earth. The earth was filled with vitality because of the myriad of living things, and the myriad of living things had a bearing because of the earth, and was no longer an empty castle. The earth, the world. Dongbu Shuang closed his eyes. His heart was completely focused. Although he could see it any time in the past, it was only today that Dongbu Shuang discovered the beauty of the earth. Its beauty lay in the countless rocks and soil, and even more so in the countless rocks and soil that formed the vast earth. A single grain of sand might seem unremarkable, but when countless grains of sand and soil are gathered together, that would be the bearing of everything, the earth. The black-robed youth sat cross-legged on the snowy mountain peak. He was immersed in the boundless beauty of the earth. Specks of earthy yellow light started to appear and revolve around him. These countless specks of light. It was like the warmth in his mother's womb. It encompassed everything. Dongbu Shuang's profound mystery of the earth had obviously stepped into the first level of the realms of myriad existences. The profound mystery of any myriad of living things was extremely vast, and could be comprehended from different angles. Some people comprehended the profound mystery of space, and first comprehended the teleportation section like Puyang Bo. Some people comprehended the shadow space section like Yufeng. Some people comprehended the space edge section like Zhang Peng. The same logic. The profound mystery of the earth was separated into many directions. Dongbu Shuang first comprehended the profound mystery of the earth, encompassing and bearing everything, encompassing everything. He sat on the snowy mountain peak for half a month. His body was covered with snow, turning him into a snowman. Obviously, it was his first time comprehending the profound mystery of the earth, fire, water, and wind. This allowed Dongbu Shuang to comprehend the profound mystery of the earth. Peng! The snow suddenly exploded, scattering in all directions. Dongbu Shuang stood there. Who would have thought that I would be able to raise the profound mystery of earth to the second level of the realms of myriad existences in one go? Dongbu Shuang was shocked as well. It took him around 7 years to advance from the first level of profound mystery of fire to the second level, while profound mystery of water only took 1 to 2 years, and profound mystery of wind was even faster. And this time the profound mystery of the earth was even faster. The main thing was that these 4 types of profound mysteries fused with each other very easily. If he chose the right path, his efficiency would naturally be very high. Back then, he had comprehended the profundities of water, because he had felt that something was too hard to break. The combination of water and fire was also a matter of course. He felt that it lacked nimbleness and change, so he comprehended the profundities of wind. Because it was what he urgently needed, it was easy for him to integrate it. And this time, the profound mystery of the earth that he had comprehended was about tolerance and bearing. It could bear the weight of all things and encompass all things. Naturally, it could also contain water, fire, and wind. While they verified each other, their progress was also extremely fast, and they had even begun to gradually merge. On the other hand, after stepping into the Saint realm, his soul had become stronger, and his efficiency and comprehension had naturally increased. I wonder if it will affect the balance of the embryonic true meaning of extreme piercing. Dongbu Shuang furrowed his brows as he thought to himself. This was what he was most worried about. Even though he felt that there shouldn't be any problems, since he wasn't sure, he couldn't say for sure. The fusion of profound mysteries, wasn't that the more the better? For example, it was extremely rare for water, fire, and wind to form extreme piercing. If one more profound mystery was added, it would be like drawing legs on a snake, and it might even destroy the balance. Destroying the embryonic true meaning. Even though in theory extremity was the beginning and the end of everything, as long as they were fused well, there shouldn't be any balance. But this was just in theory. Knowing the theory didn't mean that one could do it. Everyone knew about spacetime, but how many could actually control spacetime? Let's give it a try. Dongbu Shuang continued walking. He walked down this snowy mountain and walked on the ground. He walked around the various places, passing by villages and looking at the lives of the people in the cities. He walked in the middle of them, yet he felt like he was standing alone. This feeling of loneliness, on the contrary, Dongbu Shuang felt a faint joy in his heart. When he was flipping through the demigod dossiers, he had once seen this sentence: a human soul will only emit the radiance of wisdom when it is in solitude. If one were to mingle with the crowd and follow the crowd, their soul would be shrouded in a layer of dust, and their wisdom would be obscured. Solitude will allow the soul to gradually become clear, becoming as clear as glass, and naturally wisdom will be born. At this moment, Dongbu Shuang was more and more in agreement with this sentence. When he was young, he wholeheartedly practiced his spear. Even though he was in Snowrock Castle, he didn't care about anything else. He wholeheartedly practiced his spear as though he was possessed, and his spear techniques improved extremely quickly. Later on, he cultivated alone in his bamboo house, and didn't even need a servant. It was only when he entered the Xia capital, and was chosen to enter the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, that he was reprimanded by faction head Si Kongyang and Master Gongyu. During that period of time, he had indeed hesitated and hesitated. He questioned his heart time and time again, and even flipped through countless dossiers. In the end, he steeled his heart and ignored the reprimands of faction head Si Kongyang and the others. He wholeheartedly walked on his own path. His path might be lonely, but he was willing to endure it. But it was clear that as he wholeheartedly immersed himself in it, and without any interference from others, his improvement became even faster. He even grasped the embryonic form of the true meaning of extreme piercing during the battle on the mountain road. And when he returned home, he traveled everywhere and observed the lives of countless mortals. This was the true meaning of solitude. After stepping into the Saint realm, his soul became even clearer, and he finally found a profound mystery that he had always been lacking: the profound mystery of the earth. This profound mystery that could bear the weight of all living things was exactly what he needed. Crunch, crunch. Standing beside a mountainous region in the north of the tranquil Sun province, a group of bandits' corpses lay on the ground. The few remaining members of the caravan were still in a state of shock. "Thank you, my lord, for saving our lives. Thank you, my lord." Among the remaining members of the caravan, there were old people, young people, and even children. After all, during such a long journey, there would be some families following the caravan, and it would be safer for them. Take the weapons of these bandits and reach the city in front as soon as possible. After saying that, Dongbu Shuaying's body flashed as he disappeared into the nearby mountain. On the surface, the strength he displayed was only at the level of a silver moon knight. As transcendents, they had to be extremely cautious when searching for traces of demons, because demons were also searching for them. At the peak of the mountain, standing at the peak of the mountain, Dongbu Shuang looked at the departing caravan and shook his head. Bandits are everywhere, and the lives of the commoners are tough. Even though they know that this is beneficial to the Xia people, they still feel terrible. Even so, they still feel terrible. He understood after reading countless scrolls. For the Xia people to be able to survive in this mortal world, They had experienced many trials and tribulations. Thus, the Xia people had to make life difficult for the commoners, and there were also bandits. Under all sorts of threats, the commoners would not be satisfied with their current situation. Some of them would join the army, learn battle chi, and even work hard to become mages. This would allow them to become stronger through the countless life and death experiences. If the world was peaceful and comfortable, the number of people who chose the path of life and death would be few and far between. The number of transcendents born by the Xia people would also decrease rapidly, and the Xia people would weaken generation after generation. Eventually, they would lose their position as the ruler of the mortal world, and even be exterminated. I hope that in the future, the Xia people will be able to prosper forever. The countless commoners will no longer have to suffer. Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. Dongbua Lai and his wife treated the commoners very well. The taxes they collected from the commoners were the lowest, and they did their best to protect the commoners' safety. Thus, Dongbua Lai and his wife had always been loved and respected by the commoners. Since young, Dongbua Shuiying had been influenced by what he saw. Similarly, he hoped that the commoners would have a better life. Xiao. Dongbua Shuiying casually stabbed out with his finger. His finger pierced through the layers of space, seemingly disappearing for an instant before reappearing 1 qi away. Extreme piercing. A smile appeared on Dongbua Shuiying's face. Indeed, it did not break the balance. With the fusion of earth, fire, water and wind, Dongbua Shuiying had gone through many adjustments before finally reaching the perfect state in his heart. The current extreme piercing seems to have become more stable. Its power has also increased by 30%. Dongbua Shuiying estimated. Even though it had only increased by 30%, it was still considered an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. The slight increase in power was a small matter. More importantly, the fusion of earth, fire, water and wind did not destroy the embryonic form of the true meaning of extreme piercing. A grade 2 true meaning was on the same level as the complete true meaning of space. Right now it was just an embryonic form. In the future, once he grasped the complete true meaning of extreme piercing, it would be a qualitative change. Even though Dongbua Shuiying pursued the pinnacle of his spear techniques, if he were to really destroy a grade 2 true meaning, he would feel a heartache. Chapter 190. Snowrock Castle. A streak of light descended from the sky, landing before the castle gates in a flash. It's the eldest young master. The eldest young master has returned. The castle guards were overjoyed. Ever since Dongbua became a marquis and became the lord of Snow Eagle territory, they would still address Dongbua Shuiying as the eldest young master. The castle gates opened. Dongbua Shuiying immediately spotted the white-clothed Jing Qiu. Standing there, she looked like a fairy. She was known as the number 1 beauty among the transcendents of the Xia people. She could even be considered the number 1 beauty of the entire Xia people. Many of the guards and servants in Snowrock Castle, regardless of whether they were male or female, couldn't help but be affected by Jing Qiu's beauty. This was even after Jing Qiu used a small spell to make it difficult for the guards and servants to see her face clearly. Senior brother Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu was overjoyed. Jing Qiu. Dongbua Shuiying walked over. Jing Qiu naturally hooked her arm around Dongbua Shuiying's. The two had long since become intimate. Why did you only return now? You returned half a month later than me. Jing Qiu smiled. Why did you spend so much effort searching for demons? I heard that many transcendents failed to find any clues. The demons have all hidden themselves. I was comprehending my spear techniques and accidentally overdid it, Dongbua Shuiying said. Speaking of which, I even killed a tier 4 demon this time. You killed one? Jing Qiu was shocked. A tier 4 demon? The reward of killing a tier 4 demon was 10,000 contribution points. It was enough to attract many transcendents. However, the difficulty of killing a tier 4 demon was extremely high. You have to keep this a secret, Dongbua Shuiying said hurriedly. Yes. Jing Qiu nodded. She felt very happy for Dongbua Shuiying. He had only been cultivating for a short period of time, yet he could already kill a demon ranked on the saint list. He would definitely become a demigod in the future. Brother. Inside the castle, a group of people came to welcome them. The handsome Qing Shi brought his girlfriend Daya, Dongbua Lai and his wife, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong. As for Daya's sister, Dai Lu and her boyfriend Kong Yuan Feng, they had already returned to the Eternal Wind Academy. Dongbu Shuang couldn't help but smile brightly at the welcoming party. These were his family members. Half a year to search for traces of the evil demon, and half a year to rest. Almost every transcendent was like this. Regardless of whether Dongbu Shuang was in the Snowrock Castle or searching for traces of demons, he was wholeheartedly focused on his spear arts. The demons hid themselves very well. Only a few level 1 and 2 demons could not resist the temptation to devour human souls. The transcendents of the Xia people searched for them painstakingly. Only when they finally found them did they realize, after a year or two, all they found were level 1 and 2 demons. The Xia people understood as well. This was the calm before the storm. Demon wars were always tragic, and this kind of holing up was very abnormal. It would not last for long. Dongbu Shuang also made use of this time to train his spear arts. Hoo, the cold wind howled and snow flew everywhere. At the beginning of the year it was the coldest time of the year. At the peak of Snowrock Mountain, Jing Qiu walked over from afar and saw Dongbu Shuang practicing his spear arts. Extreme piercing was a pure offensive true intent. The reason why Dongbu Shuang was searching for other profound mysteries was to perfect his spear arts. And now he was using the profound mysteries of the earth to encompass water, fire and wind. To completely encompass and merge into one. This was the kind of vastness and harmony of the earth that he was pursuing. Rumble, following Dongbu Shuang's repeated adjustments, his spear arts continued to evolve. The laws of profound mysteries continued to be adjusted and perfected. Senior Snow Eagle usually stops after 6 hours of practice. Why hasn't he stopped today? Jing Qiu was curious as she watched from afar. She was here to call Dongbu Shuang for lunch. Sister Jing Qiu, why hasn't my brother come for lunch? The food is getting cold. So Qingshir's figure flashed as he rushed over from afar. Don't be anxious, don't disturb your brother's training. Jing Qiu said, since your brother has been training non-stop, he naturally has his own plans. You guys can eat first, don't wait. Oh. Qingshir watched from the side for a while before muttering, I don't understand at all. So he then left. His realm and Dongbu Shuang's were too far apart. Although Dongbu Shuang had given his brother some rare items from the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, his brother was still stuck at the Silver Moon Mage realm. Wanting to step into the legend rank was obviously not an easy task. After Dongbu Shuang stepped into the Saint rank, normal resources would no longer be of much help to him. Only the truly rare and top-notch resources would be of little use. However, those resources were extremely precious. Even if he threw in 100,000 origin stones, he wouldn't be able to buy much of them. Furthermore, the benefits wouldn't be too exaggerated. Since that was the case, he might as well focus on his cultivation. The more he focused on his cultivation, the faster he would be able to improve. The snow was getting heavier. Jing Qiu could feel that Dongbu Shuang's spear arts were getting stronger and stronger. Boom boom boom. Dongbu Shuang's spear arts suddenly became incomparably heavy. Every move he made seemed to contain a terrifying might. The surrounding space seemed to have solidified, forming a gigantic sphere within 100 meters. Everything within the sphere was distorted, making it hard to see clearly. What's wrong? Jing Qiu looked on nervously. She discovered that the 100-meter-wide sphere was emitting a terrifying pressure. She was afraid that just a tiny bit of it would be enough to crush her to death. Inside the sphere, the cliff beneath Dongbu Shuang's feet had already turned into dust. His entire body was floating in mid-air. When the 4 profound mysteries of earth, fire, water, and wind had completely merged into one, reaching the pinnacle of beauty that he was pursuing, everything began to change. The surrounding space started to solidify, and the gravity started to change. Faintly, Dongbu Shuang seemed to see the vast snowy plains of the north. He seemed to see deserts, oases, plains, fields, snowy plains, deserts, oases, plains, mountains. There were weeds growing everywhere, dead trees crooked, rivers flowing, wild beasts sprinting, people dancing around bonfires, villagers cooking, smoke rising from the chimneys, armies galloping on horseback, and the earth quaking. There was wind blowing, seeds growing, flowers growing, water flowing, soil reviving, people relying on fire to survive, and everything was shrinking rapidly. Or perhaps, his field of vision was enlarging unceasingly. Dongwu Shuang saw everything. After the boundless land shrank rapidly, it actually turned into a gigantic sphere. It was a star. The star rotated slowly on its own. There were many living things growing on it, including humans and beasts. Star. Dongwu Shuang vaguely understood. The earth could bear the weight of all living things, eventually forming a star. It was the most perfect star. That's right. True inclusiveness should be perfect, without edges or corners. And the star was a perfect sphere. Every part of the earth was equal. The star was the most perfect form of the earth that conformed to the laws of nature. Today was the second night watch period. Tomorrow the fourth night watch period would be completed. Chapter 191. Dongwu Shuang stood in midair. With him at the center, everything within a 100-meter radius became distorted and blurry. The surface of his body was faintly protected by the laws of profound mysteries. His entire being was like the ruler of the surrounding space, with everything revolving around him. Who would have thought that using the earth to bear the weight of water, fire, and wind would allow me to grasp the embryonic form of the true meaning of star? Dongwu Shuang thought. The true meaning of extreme piercing. It was not recorded in the 9-grade true meanings passed down in the deity world. But the true meaning of star was recorded within. The true meaning of star was classified as a grade 2 true meaning in the deity world. As a grade 2 true meaning, it was also a legendary true meaning with unfathomable power. Those who grasped the true meaning of star were extremely frightening. Their bodies were like stars. The true meaning of star's defense was as hard to shake as the stars themselves. Furthermore, every move they made was like a star smashing out. It was truly boundless strength. Furthermore, their bodies were like stars, forming an extremely powerful gravitational force around them. Thus, when experts who grasped the true meaning of star battled, the gravitational force around them, any ordinary saint transcendents who dared to intrude would most likely have their bodies crushed by the gravitational force and die on the spot. This was an extremely balanced grade 2 true meaning. Extreme piercing was extremely extreme. Its attacks were extremely powerful. Currently, Dongwu Shuang had only grasped the embryonic form of it. Thus its power was not obvious. In reality, the true meaning of space was also an extremely balanced grade 2 true meaning. Its offense, defense, domain, and many other aspects were all balanced. An expert who grasped the complete true meaning of space could easily traverse between normal space, shadow space, and the layers of space. Teleportation was also extremely easy. He could even use his control over space to toy with and kill his opponent. The true meaning of star was the same. It was extremely balanced. His body was like a star with an unshakable defense. His attacks were also extremely powerful. Furthermore, his surrounding gravity domain could suppress his opponent. When he battled, he was like a star, crushing everything in his path. Even though it was not unpredictable, such a direct suppression would give his opponent a huge headache. Grade 2 true meaning. Dongwu Shuang pondered. Extreme piercing is a grade 2 true meaning, and the true meaning of star is also a grade 2 true meaning. Right now, I have grasped hold of the embryonic forms of 2 different grade 2 true meanings. He had already grasped the embryonic form. As long as he continued to perfect it, it wouldn't be long before he would be able to grasp the complete true intent. 2 grade 2 true meanings. It was heaven-defying. My marksmanship has also made up for many of my flaws. Dongwu Shuang tried to execute his spear techniques. His spear danced about, and every single move he made contained a tremendous amount of power. In terms of strength and defense, Dongwu Shuang was extremely proficient. It's a pity that it isn't a grade 1 true meaning. Dongwu Shuang revealed a smile. He did have a glimmer of hope. Earth, water, fire, and wind, he felt that he might be able to form a perfect grade 1 true meaning. But what was a grade 1 true meaning? That was a legend among legends. It represented the true peak and most perfect true intent. In all aspects, be it reality or illusion, strength or speed, domain or soul, life or death. A grade 1 true meaning was perfect in all aspects. Even if one did not specialize in a certain aspect, they would still have the ability to protect themselves. For example, a terrifying existence who had grasped hold of the true meaning of extremity. Even if he could not control time, if he met someone who could, the threat they posed to him would be greatly reduced. Because his body was like a point of extremity, time acceleration, time stopping, the effects of an extremity would be greatly reduced. Thus, every single person who grasped hold of a grade 1 true meaning was extremely terrifying. As their true meaning grew stronger, it would become even more mysterious and unfathomable. The true meaning of star, with its heaven-defying defense and strength, could even be considered a grade 2 true meaning. Of course, it was still a legendary true meaning. The more profound mysteries one could fuse together, the better it would be. Sometimes there would even be a side effect of drawing legs on a snake. For the sake of making up for the 3 true meanings of water, fire and wind, Dongbu Shuang had to ponder over them for a long time. It was only after seeing the shocking scene of the northern snowy plains that he was inspired to comprehend the true meaning of Earth. How could a grade 1 true meaning be so easy? Dongbu Shuang was not disappointed. Instead, he was quite happy. Grade 1 true meaning, that was just a dream. It was purely a goal, a dream that he pursued. It was normal for him to not be able to achieve it. Because in the deity world, in the countless mortal worlds, and in the dark abyss, this was a legend. If he could achieve it, it would be a huge surprise. Being able to grasp the embryonic form of the true meaning of star this time, Dongbu Shuang was already very satisfied. After all, extreme piercing was too extreme. Perhaps when he grasped hold of the complete true meaning in the future, his attacks would become even more terrifying. But if he was lacking in other aspects, he would be easily countered by his enemies. With the true meaning of star, his other aspects had been supplemented, and he no longer had any obvious flaws. He retracted all his energy. With Dongbu Shuang at the center, the sphere of void within 100 meters automatically dissipated. Snowflakes continued to fall. However, the cliff where he was originally training his spear had disappeared. Dongbu Shuang stepped on the air and walked towards Jing Qiu, who was watching the battle from afar. Senior disciple Snow Eagle, you seem to be in a good mood. Did you gain something? Jing Qiu was very excited. And Dongbu Shuang smiled and nodded his head. Looking at that void sphere, it seemed to be very terrifying. I felt that I would lose my life if I were to enter it. Jing Qiu exclaimed. It's still too early. It's only an embryonic form of true meaning. Dongbu Shuang said. The embryonic form of true meaning was still very weak. The radius of the gravity domain was also very small, only 100 meters around him. Its power was also very weak. A peak sky realm transcendent would most likely die within the domain. Gravity acted on every part of the body, including the internal organs and the brain. Hence, even a peak sky realm transcendent's head would be warped and turned into a paste, dying on the spot. To directly kill a peak saint transcendent, one had to grasp the complete true meaning. Let's go. Let's return. Dongbu Shuang looked at the sky. I reckon it will be time for dinner soon. In the afternoon, Qingshi came to call for you. I told him not to wait. Fortunately, he didn't. He waited until the sky turned dark. Jing Qiu laughed. Qingshi. Dongbu Shuang shook his head inwardly. When he was young, he doted on Qingshi too much. When he fell into the black wind abyss, his little brother started to work hard. But it was very difficult to change a character that had been nurtured since young. From Dongbu Shuang's point of view, his little brother could be considered hard-working and was considered outstanding amongst mortals. But from his own cultivation experience, his little brother lacked a type of focus, which required him to abandon all mundane matters and focus all of his spiritual energy on cultivation. Forget it. Even though I've said it many times, it's still impossible for others to help with cultivation. I've let him live too comfortably in his youth. Dongbu Shuang thought. If he could do it all over again, he might not be able to bear to treat his little brother too harshly. Dongbu Shuang and Jing Qiu walked side by side towards Snowrock Castle. The two of them left a continuous trail of footprints on the snowy ground. Today seemed like an ordinary day. In reality, the first person in the history of the Xia people to grasp 2 embryonic forms of grade 2 true meanings was born. Day after day passed. The transcendents of the Xia people searched everywhere, hoping to find traces of demons and kill them. But the demons were all holed up, causing the world of the Xia people to calm down. November 9665. Waves crashed against the shore. On one of the isolated mountains by the shore, there was a secluded castle. Within the castle, there were many guards patrolling. This was the residence of a powerful demigod existence of the Xia people. Before the invasion of the demons, the majority of demigods would focus on cultivation in order to become a god. Thus, they would choose a secluded place to focus on their cultivation. Cultivating by the sea was considered a relatively common thing. Chi. Inside the castle, in a secret hall, 2 huge black oil lamps were emitting sizzling sounds. The oil inside the oil lamps was dark red in color, while the flames were green in color. A faint, strange fragrance filled the entire hall. A figure stood there, his entire body shrouded in black fog, making it difficult for others to see his appearance. In front of him there was a crystal ball floating in the air. On top of the crystal ball, 5 images appeared simultaneously. Each of the 5 images depicted a frightening demon with different appearances. There was a tall ice blue demon, a skinny demon with purple scales, an enchanting female demon with fiery red scales, a towering demon with a towering body. 5 generals, the figure in black fog said. First chapter. The second chapter would be updated soon. A large number of demons hid their auras and identities and mingled in the human world, gathering more and more information. This allowed them to more or less understand the world of the Xia people. In the abyss, the 5 demon generals had experienced many battles and knew the importance of knowing oneself and the enemy. Therefore, they were willing to spend a few years to endure and try their best to understand the situation of the Xia people. Only then did he decide on how to cooperate with the demonic faction. 8 large transcendent worlds and over 100 small transcendent worlds? Very good. We have endured for so long. The Xia people transcendents wouldn't think that we would continue to endure, right? It's time for us to take action. The 5 demon generals were all looking forward to it. This was the most important part of their plan. Only with the help of the small transcendent world could they form an absolute advantage over the Xia people. Then I wish you all success in advance. The figure in the black fog said. Your demonic faction should also be careful. We do not know the transcendence of your demonic faction. If we accidentally kill one of your transcendents, then there's nothing we can do. The female demon general's voice was very pleasant to hear. Be obedient and hide as much as possible. Don't reveal any flaws. Otherwise, even if we kill you, it will be in vain unless you tell us the identity of the transcendence of the demonic faction. Our identity cannot be exposed, the figure in the black fog said. Rest assured, our transcendence of the demonic faction will be careful. Night. Within the borders of the tranquil Sun province, on the side of the official road, there was a group of people camped, setting up tents and lighting a bonfire. Puchi. A massacre was occurring within the group. Some of them had taken out their weapons and secretly attacked their companions. This was an ordinary caravan, and the strongest person in the group was only a heaven-ranked knight. Facing a sneak attack without any warning, their companions were all killed. From the looks of it, this was a very ordinary internal strife within the group. The killing methods were also very ordinary. Alright, the other hindrances have been dealt with. Dozens of people stood beside the bonfire. Let's go. One of the lean men opened his mouth. With a stretch of his hand, his fingers suddenly turned into sinister and sharp claws. The magic within his body also naturally spread out. If there was a transcendent heaven and earth energy enveloping this place, it would immediately be determined that this was a demon or a transcendent of the demonic faction. The transcendents of the demonic faction cultivated magic power, and their bodies also had magic hidden within. It was just that they usually restrained their magic power. With a casual swipe of his sharp claws, Sila's space was directly torn apart. Go. As for the Saint Leaderboard, it was a list of humans, transcendent natives, and beasts. Thus, even if the human experts on the Saint Leaderboard joined forces, they would still be on par with this team. In this small-scale transcendent world, they were practically invincible. Second update. Chapter 193. The laws of a transcendent world were simple and crude, so the transcendent natives born there were weaker than primordial life forms. Compared to the demons born from the dark abyss, they were even weaker. Phew. A green-skinned transcendent native was running with large strides. With a single step he could cover 3 to 4 miles. His running speed was even faster than flying. At this moment he was panic-stricken and terrified. What's going on? Why are there so many demons? Weren't they fighting with the Xia people? How did they come to our transcendent world? Crescent Moon actually died in an instant. Damn it, damn it. The green-skinned transcendent native's eyes were filled with tears. He and Yuya had lived together in this transcendent world for many years, and their relationship was very deep. Whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared beside the transcendent native and stepped on his body. His feet were covered with scales and sharp nails, making him look extremely ugly. The surging magical power from his feet completely wrapped around the extraordinary native. You're running pretty fast, huh? You can actually shrink the ground? The demon in black grinned. You're very lucky. I'm going to spare your life. Hua! At this time the other demons also appeared beside them. Wu Lang, I want this transcendent native. He can actually shrink the ground and flee. He might be of help to my true meaning of evolution. The black-robed demon said. Fine, the crimson horn demon said coldly. Just imprison him and don't cause me any trouble. Don't worry, said the black-clad fiend. How many years have you been pondering over your wave intent? Until now you have yet to succeed in evolving it. The crimson horn demon snorted coldly. I think you should just give up. You have no chance to compete with me. The black-robed demon sneered and did not say anything. Both of them were rank 5 demons, but the crimson horn demon was stronger, having grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. The black-robed demon had only grasped hold of a grade 4 true meaning, the true meaning of wave domain. Back in the dark abyss, he had been thinking of ways to comprehend other profound mysteries and even research other true meanings. He wanted the true meaning of wave domain to evolve into a grade 3 true meaning, the true meaning of wave. True intent evolution was very common in the dark abyss, and many demons were pursuing it. They all lived for a very long time. For the sake of survival, one would usually grasp a true intent as soon as possible. After that, he had to think of ways to evolve his true meaning to a higher level. However, this kind of evolution had to be done carefully, and could not be done recklessly. For instance, one of Emperor Yunhai's good friends, because of Emperor Yunhai's guidance, ended up suffering from qi deviation. His deity heart collapsed and he died. Within 2 hours, all the transcendent natives in this transcendent world were swept away. Other than 3 who were captured alive, the rest were all killed. These demons immediately began to build palaces for their future residences. After spending 4 hours, a luxurious palace that covered an area of over 100 miles was completed. These demons lived in different areas of the palace according to their status. Contact the general. Within the main hall of the palace, a group of evil demons had gathered, and one of them, a red-horned evil demon, gave the order. Yes. A weak evil demon answered respectfully. The magic power in his body flew out and formed an image in front of him. General Yanzei was on the screen. Wu Lang. The thin, small, violet-armored fiend, General Yanzei, spoke. General, we are ready. We await your orders at any time. The Crimson Horn demon said respectfully. The other demons were also extremely respectful. Through the membrane of the world, communication treasures could not be used to communicate. However, due to the countless wars in the dark abyss, they had long since developed a way to deal with them. Amongst the countless weak evil demons, the demonic gods used cruel secret arts to nurture the heart-linking evil demons. This allowed 2 evil demons to sense each other's souls, allowing them to communicate even across 1 or 2 worlds. Unless the distance was too great with too much space separating them. In the dark abyss there were too many weak evil demons. Hence, the demonic gods did not care and cruelly nurtured them. Every evil demon army would have a few of these heart-linking evil demons. June 9666. Discovered Xia people transcendence. The weak evil demon reported. Finally, a Xia people transcendent. Let me go. I'll go. The evil demons were all excited and excited. Don't argue. I'll go this time. The Crimson Horn demon grinned and stuck out his scarlet tongue. Wu Lang, it's my turn this time. Wu Lang, you will have plenty of chances in the future. Let me go. The other 2 rank 5 evil demons wanted to go as well. The savagery in their bones made them thirsty for slaughter. Furthermore, killing a Xia people transcendent would give them a chance to obtain the soul of a transcendent. That was even more precious than the souls of tens of thousands of mortals. The Crimson Horn Demon sneered, "You too? Can you two tear through space on your own? We have subordinates." The other two rank 5 evil demons were somewhat unwilling. Amongst rank 4 and 3 evil demons, there were some who had talent in space. This time, the rank 3 evil demons they had brought with them were especially talented in this field. "This is our first mission. We have to be perfect. So I'll go. The two of you can go next time." The Crimson Horned Demon grinned. "It's settled then." Wah! Immediately, a large amount of demonic energy flew out and formed a demonic doppelganger. Rip! The Crimson Horned Demon waved his hand and tore open a crack in the transcendent world. The demonic doppelganger entered. The demonic doppelganger's entire body was made of demonic energy. It was unable to absorb energy from the outside world. Its existence and every action would constantly consume demonic energy. Once its demonic energy was depleted, it would die. The demonic doppelganger's soul would also be destroyed. Thus, a normal chi doppelganger or demonic doppelganger would rush back to the main body before it was depleted. Shua! The Crimson Horn Demon's demonic doppelganger tore opened the inner membrane of the Xia people's world and once again arrived at the Xia people's world. Shua! His demonic doppelganger already knew the location of the Xia people's transcendent. It also knew what this transcendent looked like. It directly tore through the void and rushed over. Chongling Shu stood in a mansion, her face full of anger. The mansion was filled with rivers of blood. However, there were many children in tattered clothes standing there. Their faces sallow and emaciated, trembling with fear. This group of heartless scum. They are not fit to be called humans. Chongling Shu was incomparably angry. Although she had become a transcendent, her personality had always been cheerful and straightforward. She could not bear to see things that were too dark. The moment she saw it, she would definitely intervene. "Children, wait here for a while. Someone will bring you away soon." Chongling Shu comforted the children. Using the power of heaven and earth, she had long discovered that a group of people from the Dragon Mountain Manor had already arrived outside the mansion. She immediately left. Shua shua. Although she was a transcendent mage, in order to hide her identity, she dressed as an adventurer. She also used a sharp sword in battle. With a transcendent body and a high realm, she was much stronger than ordinary legend rankers in battle. She easily left the mansion's courtyard. As she walked outside the mansion, she lightly shook her head. She had lived for many years and experienced many things. Her emotions gradually calmed down. Suddenly, a terrifying and evil aura appeared in midair a few miles away from her. "That's..." Chongling Shu turned her head and saw the Crimson Horn Demon in the sky above the city. This demon's entire body was emitting a vast and wanton aura of magic power that was not concealed in the slightest. That invisible aura caused Chongling Shu to feel fear and pressure. She understood that the gap between them was too big. They were not even on the same level. Why did this demon release his aura? He did not conceal it at all? Chongling Shu instinctively reported to the Infernal Palace. Xia people's transcendent. The Crimson Horn Demon's body moved. With a teleportation, he appeared beside Chongling Shu. At the same time, he extended his ugly demonic hand towards Chongling Shu's head. "You are the first transcendent I have killed in the Xia people's world. You should feel honored to die by my hands. I've been exposed." Chongling Shu was shocked. Third update. Chapter 194. Chongling Shu immediately activated the life-saving spell scroll she carried with her. A layer of faint ripples appeared on the surface of her body. Chi chi chi, the Crimson Horn Demon's claw swiped down, its sharp nails causing numerous spatial cracks to appear. When it clawed at the ripples on the surface of Chongling Shu's body, the ripples trembled violently and their power weakened. "You're actually a transcendent mage?" The Crimson Horn Demon's demonic avatar immediately swiped down a second time. At the same time, Chongling Shu activated another life-saving scroll. A ripple wrapped around her as she tried to forcefully tear through the void to escape. "Trying to tear through the void in front of me?" The Crimson Horn Demon smirked. His right claw, which was about to swipe down, suddenly opened up and grabbed at the void. Bang! The space within 100 meters of her was instantly shattered. The streets, pedestrians, shops, and everything else within this 100 meters were all shattered along with the shattered space. The faint ripples on the surface of Cheng Lingshu's body, which was already weak, were completely shattered. Even her body could not resist this frightening shattering force, and her body was instantly shattered. Grade 3 true meaning spatial shattering. Am I dead? Cheng Lingshu's soul survived even though her body had died. Transcendent mages are indeed difficult to deal with. I almost let you escape. The Crimson Horn Demon extended his hand once more. Demonic energy surged on his claws as he grabbed at Cheng Lingshu's soul in an attempt to imprison it. After all, this was just a demonic avatar, and it could not devour souls. I originally thought that I would experience many battles and kill quite a few demons before dying a heroic death. But I never thought that I would die before even killing a single demon. Cheng Lingshu did not feel too much grief. Transcendents often tempered themselves between life and death. They had long since gained an understanding of death and were even prepared for it. I'm a little unwilling. But my life has been glorious enough, haha. But demon, if you want this beauty's soul, dream on. Cheng Lingshu's translucent soul, with a smile on her face, suddenly exploded. Ah! Damn, I hate mages. The Crimson Horn Demon was completely enraged. The soul of a transcendent mage had actually self-destructed? Transcendent knights and mages were completely different. Transcendent knights did not have much research in the field of souls, so when they were killed, it was easy for their souls to be captured. However, mages were different. Some legend-ranked mages had already started researching on seizing bodies. Some had even been pondering over souls and fleshly bodies. As for the transcendent mages, each of them had a deep understanding of the soul. Just a little bit more. The Crimson Horn Demon wasn't willing to give up. He had acted quickly, and as long as he could grab hold of that soul, the other party would no longer be able to self-destruct. Unfortunately, this Xia people's transcendent female mage did not hesitate at all. Normal transcendents would hesitate before detonating their souls. Grabbing the storage treasure left behind by Cheng Lingshu, the Red Horn Demon's demonic avatar immediately shuttled through the void and left. From the moment he descended, he had only attacked with a few claws. It was too fast. With Cheng Lingshu's current strength, it was impossible for her to face the attack head-on. She could only rely on her life-saving scrolls to resist, but it was a pity that she was unable to escape. The space in this area was completely shattered, and a huge crater appeared on the street. It was completely bare. Countless people in the distance who were not affected were completely stunned. Very soon, Old Man Chao Qing tore through the void and appeared. Following closely behind, Qiu Qibai tore through space and arrived. Ling Shu. Qiu Qibai's face turned pale. The transcendents of the Tranquil Sun province were really on good terms with each other. Cheng Lingshu was one of the younger ones, and had a straightforward personality. Qiu Qibai never expected that Cheng Lingshu would actually die in the hands of a demon. Cheng Lingshu is a transcendent mage, and all transcendent mages would carry life-saving scrolls with them. She should be able to escape even if she were to face a transcendent at the peak of the Saint Realm. Why didn't she escape this time? Old Man Chao Qing's heart ached. Although Cheng Lingshu's lifespan was longer than that of a mortal, she was still very young among the transcendents. Go. Dongbo Shuiying rode on a snow-treading demonic beast colt, as he traveled on the official road. He looked like a common lone ranger. He was constantly using his heaven and earth energy to scan the area within 100 miles. Recently, there were actually 2 transcendents who were killed by a demon. Dongbo Shuiying furrowed his brows. The Infernal Palace had also ordered all the Xia people's transcendents to be more cautious. During the search, they had to treat themselves as mortals. Other than using the heaven and earth energy to scan, they were forbidden from using any other transcendent abilities to prevent themselves from being exposed. Hence, he always rode a horse. But no matter how careful he was, at a certain crucial moment, he would try his luck or inadvertently make a transcendent move. After all, many transcendents had been transcendents for hundreds or even thousands of years. Many things had already become a habit. His daily actions might reveal traces of his extraordinary power if he was slightly distracted and careless. In some dangerous situations, they might even be forced to use powers that surpassed mortals. Hence, it was extremely difficult to hide. Transcendent Cheng Lingshu has been killed by a demon. A piece of news was transmitted to all the Xia people's transcendence through the infernal palace. Dongbu Ying, who was originally riding on a horse, was stunned. He sat on the horse in a daze. The colt did not feel pressured, and after galloping for a while, it started to slow down. It even stopped and walked to the side to eat grass. Sister Ling Shu? Dongbu Ying felt his heart ache. My name is Chung Ling Shu. In the future you can just call me Sister Ling Shu. Calling me Big Sister feels weird. He still remembered what Chung Ling Shu said when they first met. Sister Ling Shu. At that time Dongbu Ying called out obediently. He still remembered how excited she was when she made a huge profit from the transcendent battle of life and death. Later on, she also made a huge profit from the battle with Yuan Qing. She was simply a gambling god. Before Dongbu Ying joined the group of transcendents in Tranquil Sun Province, Chung Ling Shu was the youngest one among them. How? Dongbu Ying could not believe that this extremely cheerful Sister Ling Shu would actually die in the early stages of the demon war. He knew that many transcendents would die in this demon war, but he never thought that Sister Ling Shu would actually die in the early stages of the demon war. She was a sorcerer, and sorcerers had many ways to protect themselves. Usually, they would be able to escape with their lives. On horseback, Dongbu Ying only regained his senses after a while. Brother Eternal Wind, where did Sister Ling Shu die? Dongbu Ying asked through the communication wristband. In a small city called Feng City. Qi Qiubai replied. So, in an instant Dongbu Ying soared into the skies. His speed was raised to the limit as he rushed towards Feng City. Although the infernal palace had asked them to conceal their tracks, Dongbu Ying couldn't be bothered about it anymore. If they were to be exposed, then so be it. Even a rank 4 demon wasn't a match for him. A rank 5 demon wouldn't be able to kill him in a breath's time. Furthermore, he still had the protective treasure of the Xia people on him. He could even defend against a demigod-ranked demon. Maybe it was a little presumptuous, but Dongbu Ying really wanted to reach the place where Sister Ling Shu died as soon as possible. After flying for a short while, they had already traversed over 20,000 miles. We're here. Dongbu Ying saw a small city below him. It was an extremely beautiful city, and there were many maple trees growing in the city. The maple trees had already become the symbol of this small city. South descending from the sky, he directly landed in this small city, beside that huge pit. The area of a mile around the pit was completely sealed. At this moment Qiu Qibai, Old Fogey Chao-Ching and Si Kongyang were all here. Snow Eagle, you're here. Qiu Qibai looked over. You flew over just like that? Old Fogey Chao-Ching stared at him angrily. Don't you know that the demons are hiding in various places? They are also paying attention to your tracks? Yet you flew over just like that? Even if you fly very high, the chances of them discovering you is very low. But what if they discover you? Don't tell me you want to die under the sneak attacks of the demons? Vice Abbot, Dongbu Ying hurriedly said. I have a protective treasure that can defend against demigods. Old Fogey Chao-Ching was shocked. He turned to look at Si Kongyang by his side. Si Kongyang nodded his head in confirmation. Only then did Chao-Ching stop cursing. He guessed that Dongbu Ying had exchanged the contribution points from the Devil's Well for a certain protective treasure. Even so, we still have to be cautious. Old Fogey Chao-Ching sighed. It's good that this old man is the one who died. Ling Shu was still very young. Is there nothing left? Dongbu Ying looked at the huge crater. The surrounding nothingness had shattered. The space has completely shattered. Old Fogey Chao-Ching shook his head. There isn't even a corpse. It was only the communication wristband that notified the infernal palace when she died. Did you find the demon? Dongbu Ying forcefully suppressed his anger. They had been good friends for 30 years. They had known each other in the Xia capital for 30 years. Yet she left just like that. Even her corpse had turned into ashes. I followed the fluctuations in space and chased after her. However, I only managed to trace her to the void layer before losing track of her. Qiu Qibai shook his head. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Damn it. I will definitely find that damnable fellow. I must find her. The sadness in Qiu Qibai's heart was not any less than that of Dongbu Ying. He had watched Chung Ling Shu grow from a young genius mage to a young girl. He treated this pure and innocent female mage as his little sister. End of fourth watch. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.